I watched my father's name flash on my phone screen for the third time that morning, but I already knew what he'd say if I answered. 2 years ago, his words had carved themselves into my memory. Don't call me your father anymore. Yet every month, I still transferred money into their account, watching it drain within days. Tonight was Mom's 60th birthday party, and I wasn't invited. What they didn't know was that their financial lifeline was about to meet my sister's new boyfriend. The memory of that Thanksgiving dinner 2 years ago still burns like acid in my chest. I can picture every detail of our dining room, from the antique china my grandmother left us to the way the November light filtered through the lace curtains Mom had sewn herself. The turkey sat golden and perfect on the table, a mockery of the disaster about to unfold. I had arrived early to help Mom with the cooking, as I did every year. My younger sister Megan showed up 3 hours late, breezing through the door with shopping bags from Nordstrom and Saks Fifth Avenue, her bleached blonde hair freshly styled in an expensive blowout. She air-kissed Mom's cheek while texting on her phone, barely acknowledging my presence in the kitchen. "Alexa's here already." "Of course she is," Megan muttered, tossing her designer purse on the counter where I'd been rolling out pie dough. Always trying to be the perfect daughter. I bit my tongue, focusing on crimping the edges of the apple pie. This was Mom's day, and I wouldn't let Megan's attitude ruin it. But I should have known something was brewing when she kept shooting me calculating looks throughout dinner preparation. The extended family arrived in waves. Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia with their twin boys, Cousin Jennifer with her new husband, and finally Dad, who'd been working late at his construction company office. Frank Morrison was a man who commanded respect through volume and stubbornness rather than wisdom, his weathered hands telling the story of 30 years in the building trade. We gathered around the table, and Dad said grace in his booming voice. The meal started pleasantly enough, with compliments on Mom's cooking and updates on everyone's lives. I shared news about my latest promotion at the tech startup where I worked, pride warming my voice as I described the app I was developing to help small businesses manage their finances. That's when Megan struck. "Speaking of finances," she announced, her voice cutting through the comfortable chatter like a blade, "has anyone else noticed things going missing around here?" The table fell silent. Mom's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "What do you mean, sweetie?" Mom asked, her voice tinged with concern. Megan's eyes locked onto mine with predatory precision. "Well, Grandma's emerald ring disappeared from Mom's jewelry box last month, and the pearl necklace Dad gave Mom for their anniversary, and about $500 in cash from the emergency fund in the kitchen drawer." My stomach dropped. I had noticed Mom looking for her jewelry recently, but I'd assumed she'd misplaced it. The cash I hadn't known about at all. "Megan," I said carefully, "what exactly are you trying to say?" She leaned back in her chair, a satisfied smile playing on her lips. "I'm not saying anything. Just find it interesting that these things started disappearing right around the time you began having those financial troubles you mentioned last month." The words hit me like a physical blow. Yes, I'd mentioned being tight on money after investing most of my savings into my app development, but to suggest I'd steal from my own parents. "You're accusing me of being a thief." My voice came out steadier than I felt. Dad's fist slammed on the table, making the dishes jump. "Is this true, Alexa? Have you taken things from this house?" "Of course not." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "Dad, you know me. I would never—" "I saw her," Megan interrupted smoothly, "last week when I stopped by to borrow Mom's blue dress. Alexa was in their bedroom going through Mom's jewelry box. She said she was looking for aspirin, but the medicine cabinet is in the bathroom." It was such a carefully constructed lie. I had been in their bedroom last week, but I'd been putting away laundry Mom had asked me to fold. I'd never touched her jewelry box. "That's not what happened," I said, looking desperately at Mom. "Carol, please, you asked me to put away the laundry." "Don't you dare call your mother by her first name!" Dad roared, his face turning purple. "Show some respect." Frank, calm down," Mom whispered, but her eyes were full of doubt as she looked at me. That doubt cut deeper than Dad's anger. Check her purse, Megan suggested innocently. If she has nothing to hide. I don't need to prove my innocence in my own family home, I said, clutching my purse tighter, but my refusal only seemed to confirm their suspicions. Uncle Robert shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should discuss this privately. No. Dad stood up, towering over the table. If my daughter is a thief, everyone should know, he pointed at me, his fingers shaking with rage. Empty your purse, now. With trembling hands, I upended my purse on the table. Wallet keys, phone lipstick receipts, and a small velvet jewelry box tumbled out. The jewelry box that I'd bought that morning to hold the special gift I'd gotten for Mom, a custom-made charm bracelet celebrating our family memories. Megan pounced on it. Is this Grandma's ring box? No, it's. But she'd already opened it, revealing the silver charm bracelet. For a moment, confusion flickered across her face, then she quickly schooled her expression. Nice try, she said. You probably already sold the real jewelry and bought this cheap replacement to throw us off. The accusation was so absurd, I actually laughed, a bitter sound that seemed to enrage Dad further. You think this is funny? He bellowed. Stealing from your own parents, laughing in our faces? I'm laughing because this is insane, I shot back. Megan is lying and you're all choosing to believe her without a shred of real evidence. The evidence is right here. Dad gestured at the jewelry box. You had opportunity motive and now you're acting guilty. I'm acting upset because my family is calling me a thief. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Then explain the missing items. Megan pressed her voice honeyed with false concern. If you didn't take them, where are they? I looked at her, really looked at her. The new designer clothes, the expensive highlights, the fresh manicure, all on a retail worker's salary. A cold certainty settled in my stomach. Why don't you tell us, Megan? I said quietly. You seem to have a lot of new expensive things lately. Her face flushed. How dare you turn this around on me? I work hard for everything I have. At Bath and Body Works. I couldn't help the sarcasm. That must be some commission structure. Enough! Dad's voice shook the windows. I won't have you attacking your sister to cover your own crimes. She's not the one sneaking around bedrooms with lies about laundry. I turned to Mom one last time. You really believe I would do this after everything? Mom's eyes filled with tears, but she wouldn't meet my gaze. I don't know what to believe anymore, she whispered. That whisper destroyed me more than all of Dad's shouting. Dad drew himself up to his full height. You're no daughter of mine, he said, each word deliberate and cold. A thief and a liar has no place in this family. Frank, Mom gasped. No, Carol, she's made her choice. He looked at me with disgust. Get out, and don't call me your father anymore. You're dead to me. The room spun. Aunt Patricia covered her mouth in shock. Uncle Robert stood like he might intervene, but Dad's glare stopped him. Megan sat perfectly still, not even pretending to be upset by the family destruction she'd orchestrated. Fine, I managed to say through the tightness in my throat. If that's what you want. I gathered my things with as much dignity as I could muster, leaving the charm bracelet on the table. As I walked to the door, I remembered the security camera I'd installed in the garage last month as a surprise for Dad after some tools went missing. It covered part of the house's side entrance, the entrance to their bedroom. I could prove my innocence. The footage would show I hadn't been in their room when Megan claimed. It might even show who really took the jewelry. But I stopped at the door, my hand on the knob. If they could believe I was a thief without any real evidence, if Dad could disown me based on Megan's word alone, if Mom could doubt me after 28 years of being a devoted daughter, what was the point? They'd already chosen. The verdict was in before the trial began. Alexa, Jennifer called out softly, this is all just a misunderstanding. Don't leave like this. I looked back at the table at Dad's stone face, Mom's tears, Megan's barely concealed satisfaction, and the rest of the family's uncomfortable silence. No, I said quietly. It's not a misunderstanding, it's a choice, and they've made theirs. I walked out into the November night, leaving behind the only family I'd ever known. The cold air hit my wet cheeks. When had I started crying? Behind me, I heard Megan's voice already spinning the narrative. I can't believe she didn't even try to defend herself properly. That basically confirms it, doesn't it? No one disagreed with her. As I sat in my car engine, running but unable to drive through the tears, I made two decisions. First, I would never show them that security footage. Let them live with their choice. Second, despite everything, I would make sure they were taken care of. Not because they deserved it after this betrayal, but because that's who I was, someone who protected family even when family failed to protect me. I didn't know then that this moment of injustice would become the catalyst for everything that followed. That my refusal to prove my innocence would haunt Megan, making her escalate her lies to cover the growing guilt. That my silent support would become both my revenge and my salvation. All I knew was that my father's words echoed in the empty car. Don't call me your father anymore. So I didn't. But that didn't stop me from being his daughter, even if he'd never know it. 2 years had passed since that nightmare Thanksgiving, and my life had transformed in ways I never could have imagined. While my family believed their rejected daughter was struggling somewhere, I had built an empire from my exile. The morning after the disownment, I'd thrown myself into my work with desperate intensity. My financial management app, which had been a promising side project, became my entire world. 18-hour days blurred together as I coded, pitched to investors, and refined the user interface. 6 months later, FinFlow launched to immediate success. Within a year, Microsoft offered to buy it for $40 million. I turned them down and kept building. Now at 28, I was the CEO of FinTech Solutions, a company valued at over $200 million. My corner office overlooked downtown Seattle with floor-to-ceiling windows that caught the morning light. But as I stood there this Tuesday morning, reviewing bank statements that had nothing to do with my company, the view couldn't distract me from the familiar ache in my chest. Monthly transfer complete. The banking app confirmed. $20,000 sent through a shell company called Evergreen Financial Services had just been deposited into my parents' account. They had no idea their disowned daughter was keeping them afloat. My assistant, Marcus Chen, one of the few people who knew my history, knocked and entered with coffee and a concerned expression. "You know you don't have to keep doing this," he said gently, setting the matte black mug on my desk. "Yes, I do," I replied, closing the banking app. "Just because they gave up on me doesn't mean I give up on them." Marcus had been with me since the early days, one of my first hires when FinFlow started gaining traction. His loyalty had earned him more than just a salary. He'd become one of my closest friends and confidants. He was also the one who'd helped me set up the anonymous payment system. The private investigator sent his monthly report, he said, handing me a sealed envelope. "Are you sure you want to know?" I'd hired the investigator 6 months ago when I noticed the payments were being drained faster than usual. What started as concern about my parents' spending had revealed a web of deception that still made my stomach turn. I opened the envelope and scanned the report, each line confirming what I'd suspected. Megan had been telling our parents that she was the one supporting them. She'd created elaborate lies about her successful marketing career at a Fortune 500 company, complete with fake business cards and a LinkedIn profile full of manufactured accomplishments. The reality: she'd been fired from 3 jobs in 2 years, twice for theft, though the companies hadn't pressed charges, and once for chronic absences. She was living in a luxury apartment downtown, driving a leased BMW and maintaining an Instagram lifestyle that would make an heiress envious, all funded by credit cards she couldn't pay and loans she'd never honor. "There's more," Marcus said quietly. "Check page 3. I flipped to it and felt my heart sink. Photos showed my father's construction company trucks, looking worn and outdated. Employee testimonies revealed that Morrison Construction was 3 months behind on wages. The only reason my father hadn't declared bankruptcy was the mysterious monthly investment from Evergreen Financial Services. He's been telling people business is booming, I murmured. Mom must have no idea. So, speaking of your mom, Marcus hesitated. The investigator noticed something concerning. She's been looking increasingly frail in recent photos, confused, sometimes disoriented. I studied the surveillance photos taken outside their church. Mom, who'd always been vibrant and energetic, looked pale and unsteady. Dad's arm around her seemed less affectionate and more necessary for support. "Get me her medical records," I said abruptly. "Alexa, that's legal if we go through the right channels. She's still on my company's insurance as a dependent from before the split. I never removed her." It had been a loophole I'd maintained, hoping someday it might matter. My phone buzzed. Sarah Martinez, my childhood best friend who'd somehow maintained relationships with both me and my family, was calling. "Hey," I answered, trying to sound casual. "Alexa, I just left your parents' house and I need to tell you something." Sarah's voice was strained. "Megan's been saying things, awful things." "What kind of things?" "She told your parents that she saw you last month, that you're— God, I hate even repeating this. She said you're homeless, living under the freeway overpass, that you're addicted to drugs, and that's why you stole from them before." I sank into my chair, and they believed her. "Your mom cried for hours. Your dad said it was inevitable, given your choices." "Alexa." I tried to tell them it wasn't true, but Megan had photos. Obviously fake ones, but convincing enough. Some woman who vaguely looks like you from behind sitting with homeless camps. Why would she do that? Though I knew the answer: guilt, fear, the need to justify the original lie by making it bigger. "There's more. She's bringing her new boyfriend to your mom's birthday party next week. Ryan something. She's been bragging that he's some big-shot entrepreneur, that they're practically engaged." A memory tickled the back of my mind. "Ryan? What's his last name?" I think Ryan Hayes." I pulled up our employee database. There he was, Ryan Hayes, junior analyst in our acquisitions department. 25 years old, hired 8 months ago, currently on performance probation for consistently poor work. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered. "What?" "Nothing. Tell me about the party." Sarah detailed the plans. A celebration at the Fairmont Hotel's private dining room, 60 guests, all extended family and close friends, everyone except me. After we hung up, I called my CFO. "Pull Ryan Hayes' personnel file, full financial background check. I want to know everything." "Is there a problem?" she asked. "Possibly. Just get me the information." That afternoon, the files painted a clear picture. Ryan Hayes was drowning in student loans and credit card debt. His work performance reviews were abysmal, missed deadlines, sloppy analysis, and a concerning tendency to take credit for others' work. He'd been job hunting unsuccessfully for months. But the most interesting discovery came from his social media. Photos from the last month showed him living a lifestyle well beyond his means: designer suits, expensive dinners, weekend trips to Cabo. The timing aligned perfectly with when he had started dating Megan. Marcus knocked again. "Your 2 o'clock is here. Also, Ryan Hayes just submitted an expense report for last month. Want to guess what's on it?" "Oh, surprise me." "Client entertainment expenses totaling $8,000. Except we trace the receipts. They're all from dates with your sister. He's literally billing your company for their relationship." I laughed, actually laughed. The irony was too perfect. My sister's boyfriend was stealing from my company to fund their lifestyle, just like Megan had stolen from our parents to fund hers. They were perfect for each other. "Approve it," I said. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. "What?" "Approve the expense report. Let him think he's getting away with it. But document everything. Create a file." Alexa, what are you planning?" I looked out at the Seattle skyline, my reflection ghost-like in the glass. For 2 years, I'd been a phantom in my family's life, invisible but essential. They survived on my money while believing I was dying on the streets. My mother was growing sicker while my sister played successful daughter. My father's business was failing while he clung to his pride. And now Ryan Hayes, who didn't even know I was his CEO, was about to walk into my family's party on my sister's arm, funded by money he'd stolen from my company. "I'm not planning anything," I said finally, "but I think it's time the ghosts became visible. Send me everything we have on the Fairmont Hotel. Ownership records, booking systems, everything." "You're going to the party." It wasn't a question. "My mother is turning 60, Marcus. A daughter should be there for that." I turned from the window. Even if that daughter is supposed to be homeless and addicted under a freeway somewhere. As Marcus left to gather the information, I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a photo, the last one taken of our complete family at Mom's 58th birthday. We were all smiling, unaware that in just 3 months, Megan's lies would shatter everything. I traced Mom's face in the photo. She looked so healthy, then so happy. Now she was frail and confused, possibly sick, while everyone pretended everything was fine. My phone buzzed with a bank alert. The $20,000 had already been withdrawn from my parents' account. It had taken less than 6 hours. A note in the transaction showed it went to pay overdue bills and Morrison Construction's most urgent creditor. I made a decision then, one that would change everything. I called my lawyer. "I want to buy something," I said. "The Fairmont Hotel. Yes, the entire property. I don't care what it costs. I want it done by end of week." If my family wanted to exclude their homeless, addicted daughter from the party, that was their choice, but they couldn't exclude her from her own hotel. The irony wasn't lost on me. Megan had accused me of being a thief to cover her own theft. Now her boyfriend was stealing from me while she pretended to be successful. My parents believed I was destitute while living off my charity. Everyone was playing a role in this twisted theater. It was time to raise the curtain. I pulled up the bank interface again, looking at the Evergreen Financial Services account. 2 years of payments, nearly $500,000, had flowed from my success to their survival. They had no idea their disowned daughter was their guardian angel. That was about to change. "Marcus," I called out, "one more thing. I need you to compile a complete financial report. Every payment, every transfer, every dollar that's gone from me to them. Make it thorough. Make it undeniable. You're really going to tell them." I thought about Mom's frail appearance, Dad's failing business, Megan's escalating lies, and Ryan's theft. I thought about 2 years of silence and secrets. "They say the truth will set you free," I said. "Let's find out if that applies to family." As I returned to the window, Seattle's afternoon sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the city in golden light. Somewhere out there, my family was preparing for a celebration that would become something entirely different than they'd planned. They thought they knew their story successful. Megan failed Alexa, struggling parents making it on their own. They had no idea how wrong they were, but they would learn. The secret support would become visible, the lies would unravel, and the daughter they'd thrown away would return not as the beggar they imagined, but as something they never expected. Their savior. The week before Mom's 60th birthday arrived with the weight of an approaching storm. Each day that passed felt heavier than the last, like the air before lightning strikes. I found myself oscillating between determination and doubt, resolve and regret. Monday morning started with Sarah's text, a screenshot of Megan's Instagram story. My sister posed in front of Tiffany & Co., her perfectly manicured hand displaying a sapphire bracelet with the caption, "Early birthday shopping for Mom. Being the only daughter means I get to spoil her extra." The casual cruelty of it, being the only daughter, hit harder than I expected. I set my phone aside and focused on the stack of contracts my lawyer had sent over. The Fairmont Hotel acquisition was moving faster than anticipated. By Thursday, I'd own the very venue where my family planned to celebrate without me. Yet you have that look again, Marcus observed, entering with my afternoon schedule. The one that means you're about to do something that'll either be brilliant or devastating. Oop, why not both? I replied, signing the final page with a flourish. He studied me with the concern of someone who'd watched me build walls for 2 years. Your mom's party is really getting to you. Yeesh, wouldn't it get to you? I pushed back from my desk, needing to move. Sarah called this morning. Apparently, Megan's been posting all over social media about planning the perfect party for the perfect mom. She's created this whole narrative about being the devoted daughter who saved the family. Well, you actually saved them. The irony's not lost on me. I paced to the window, watching Seattle's everyday chaos below. Did you know she hired a photographer, a professional one? She wants to document every moment of the family that doesn't include me. Marcus set down a file folder on my desk. Speaking of documentation, Ryan Hayes' performance review is ready. It's not good. I returned to read through it. 3 pages of failures, missed deadlines, and excuses. His manager recommended immediate termination, noting that he'd been caught multiple times doing personal business during work hours. He's been using our computers to help Megan create fake marketing portfolios, Marcus added. I had found dozens of files, photoshopped campaigns for companies she never worked for, fictional client testimonials, even a fake award from the American Marketing Association. They're quite the pair, I murmured, both building houses of cards. There's something else. Marcus hesitated, which he rarely did. The investigator found out why your mom's been looking so frail. My blood chilled. Tell me. Hospital records show she's been treated 6 times in the past year for severe fatigue and confusion, each time Megan brought her in. Each time the symptoms were attributed to stress and age. But the pattern is suspicious. Suspicious how? The symptoms intensify whenever your mom starts asking questions. Like last month, when she wondered aloud to Sarah why the anonymous deposits always came on the same day you used to visit. She ended up in the ER that night with severe disorientation. I sank into my chair pieces, clicking together in my mind. You think Megan's doing something to her? The investigator does. He's noticed Megan always has access to your mom's medications. Always insists on organizing her pills, and your mom's symptoms align with certain drug interactions that wouldn't be fatal but would cause confusion and dependency. The rage that flooded through me was pure and white-hot. Stealing was one thing, framing me was another, but deliberately harming our mother, that crossed every line. Get me proof, I said quietly, undeniable proof. Already on it. We've got a specialist reviewing the medical records. My phone rang Sarah again. I almost didn't answer, but something in her repeated calls felt urgent. Alexa, thank God, she breathed. I'm at your parents' house. Something's wrong. What happened? Your mom collapsed during party planning. She kept saying she wanted to invite you, that it wasn't right to celebrate without both daughters. Megan gave her some tea to calm down, and 20 minutes later she could barely stand. Where is she now? Resting. Megan convinced your dad it was just excitement about the party, but Alexa, I saw Megan pour that tea. She added something from a small bottle when she thought no one was looking. Sarah listened carefully. Can you get a sample of that tea or the bottle? I'll try, but there's more. Ryan is here. My grip tightened on the phone. At my parents' house. Megan introduced him to your parents yesterday. Your dad loves him, keeps talking about how successful he is, how he reminds him of the son he never had. Ryan's playing it up, talking about his executive position and entrepreneurial ventures. Has he mentioned where he works? Vaguely. Something about tech acquisitions. Megan changes the subject whenever specifics come up. Sarah lowered her voice. Alexa, they're moving fast, really fast. Megan's been dropping hints about wedding planning. After we hung up, I made a series of calls. First to HR requesting Ryan's complete employment verification. Then to building security asking them to flag any unusual after-hours access from his key card. Finally, to my CFO. I need a full audit of the acquisitions department, I told her. Every transaction Ryan Hayes has touched. That's going to raise flags, she warned. Let them wave. Tuesday brought new revelations. The audit uncovered a pattern of small financial discrepancies in Ryan's reports. Nothing huge, but consistent. Money moved through accounts in ways that benefited companies connected to his friends. We weren't talking millions, but thousands that added up. He's been taking kickbacks, my CFO reported, small enough to fly under radar, systematic enough to matter. We're looking at about 60,000 over 8 months. Document everything. Prepare termination papers, but don't file them yet. Alexa, we have cause. I know, but timing matters. Wednesday, Sarah managed to swipe the tea sample. A friendly pharmacist confirmed her suspicions, traces of zolpidem, a powerful sedative mixed with mom's regular medications. Not enough to cause permanent harm, but sufficient to ensure compliance and confusion. She's been drugging our mother, I told Marcus, my voice hollow. For months, maybe longer. What are you going to do? I looked at the Fairmont contracts now fully executed. I owned the hotel where Saturday's party would occur. Ryan's termination papers sat in my desk drawer. Evidence of Megan's medication tampering filled a growing file. Financial records showed 2 years of my support versus Megan's lies. I'm going to attend my mother's birthday party, I decided, as myself. Not the homeless addict Megan's painted, not the thief my father believes, just Alexa Morrison, CEO of FinTech Solutions and owner of the Fairmont Hotel. And then we'll see what happens when truth crashes the party. Thursday arrived with a complication. My afternoon was interrupted by unexpected visitors. Ryan Hayes and a colleague from acquisitions requesting a meeting about a revolutionary opportunity. I almost refused, then reconsidered. Send them in. Ryan entered my office with the confidence of someone who had no idea whose office it was. His colleague made introductions while Ryan launched into a pitch about a startup he had discovered, one that coincidentally was run by his college roommate. The potential ROI is astronomical. He insisted sliding a poorly prepared prospectus across my desk, with just $2 million in seed funding. Mr. Hayes, I interrupted, enjoying how he straightened at my formal tone. Are you aware that personal investments during company time violate your employment contract? His confidence flickered. This is for the company's benefit. Is it like the $8,000 in entertainment expenses you submitted, the ones traced to personal dinners? The color drained from his face. He finally really looked at me. Recognition dawned slowly, followed by terror. But Megan said you were homeless, addicted, dead to the family. I leaned back, letting him squirm. Interesting what people say versus what's true. I don't understand. You're dating my sister, Mr. Hayes, the one who told you her family was wealthy, successful, connected, the one you've been impressing with expensive dinners funded by embezzled money, the one whose fake marketing career you've been helping create using company resources. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to attend that party on Saturday. You're going to play the devoted boyfriend. And when you see me there, you're going to remember this conversation and say nothing. Understood? But Megan says a lot of things. How many of them have you verified? His silence was answer enough. Enjoy the party, Mr. Hayes. It'll be memorable. After they left, Marcus whistled low. That was cruel. That was kind. I could have fired him on the spot. Why didn't you? I thought about it, about the web we were all trapped in. Ryan stealing to impress a liar, Megan lying to cover theft, my parents believing lies while surviving on truth, and me, the ghost, funding it all. Because Saturday needs to happen exactly as planned, I said. Every player in place, every lie at its peak, every truth ready to surface. Friday night found me in my closet selecting an outfit. Not the designer suits I wore to board meetings, but something that said, daughter, not CEO. Something that reminded them of who I used to be while showing who I'd become. Sarah texted, final guest list is set. 62 people. Your name's not on it. I replied, it doesn't need to be. I own the venue. Alexa, are you sure about this? I thought about Mom confused and sedated, Dad proud and broke, Megan spinning lies like silk, Ryan stealing to maintain illusion. 2 years of silence and secrets, pain and payments. No, I admitted, but I'm doing it anyway. Saturday would arrive in hours. The Fairmont was prepared, though they didn't know their new owner would attend. The evidence was gathered, the players positioned, the stage set. My reflection showed a woman I barely recognized, harder than the girl who'd fled Thanksgiving dinner, softer than the CEO who'd built an empire. Somewhere between the two lived the daughter who still sent money to parents who disowned her. Tomorrow, all versions would converge. The invitation might not have my name, but the hotel bore my signature. They could exclude me from the guest list, but not from my property, not from the truth. Not from the reckoning 2 years in the making. Friday morning arrived with the weight of anticipation. Tomorrow would bring the confrontation 2 years in the making, but first I had to navigate the most important performance review of my career. Not because of Ryan Hayes' incompetence, but because of what it represented. I arrived at the office before dawn, needing the quiet to prepare. The Seattle skyline was still dark, punctuated by scattered lights from other early risers or those who'd never left. My reflection in the window looked composed, but inside my emotions churned like the distant Puget Sound. The files on my desk painted a damning picture. Ryan Hayes hadn't just been a poor employee, he'd been a calculated thief. The deeper our audit dug, the more creative his schemes appeared. False vendor accounts, inflated project costs, mysteriously rerouted funds, always small amounts, always just under the threshold that would trigger automatic reviews. And 60,000 was conservative. My CFO had emailed late last night. We're now looking at closer to 90,000, possibly more. I'd built this company on trust and integrity. Every employee mattered, from our janitors to our executives. Ryan had violated that trust, and worse, he'd done it while dating my sister, while planning to propose with a ring bought with stolen money, while my parents praised him as the son they'd never had. The irony was sharp enough to cut. Marcus arrived at 7, with coffee and concern. You could postpone the review, handle it after the party. No, this happens today. Everything needs to be documented before tomorrow. You're setting up dominoes. I'm revealing what's already there. Big difference. At 9 sharp, my assistant announced Ryan's arrival. I let him wait 15 minutes, petty perhaps, but I needed him off balance. When he finally entered, his cologne preceded him, expensive and excessive, probably bought with our money. Ms. Morrison, he said, still not fully grasping who I was, despite yesterday's encounter. I appreciate you taking the time for my review. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. The morning light caught his Rolex, definitely not affordable on his salary. Let's discuss your performance, Mr. Hayes. I opened his file, thick with documentation. You've been with us 8 months. Tell me about your contributions. He launched into a rehearsed speech about synergy and value adds, buzzwords without substance. I let him talk, watching him gain confidence with each empty phrase. Behind him, through the glass wall, I could see other employees going about their honest work. Interesting perspective, I said when he finally paused. Now let me share mine. I pulled out the first report. January 15th. You reported completing due diligence on the Morrison Tech acquisition, except you didn't. James Chen did the work while you were skiing in Aspen. You submitted his report under your name. His Adam's apple bobbed. That was a collaborative effort. February 23rd, the Baxter Industries analysis. You claimed 30 hours of work. Our system shows you logged 12, mostly spent browsing luxury car websites and messaging someone named, I pretended to check, Megan Morrison. Any relation? She's my girlfriend. March through May, 17 separate expense reports, all inflated. Dinners with clients who, when contacted, had never heard of you. Hotel stays for business trips that coincided with your social media posts from Vegas, Miami, and Cabo. Each revelation hit him like a physical blow. He shrank in his chair, the confident facade crumbling. But the real creativity started in June. I pulled out the forensic accounting report. Shell companies, vendor kickbacks, project funds diverted through accounts you thought we couldn't trace. Did you really think a financial technology company wouldn't notice financial technology crimes? I can explain. Please do. Explain how you stole $90,000. Explain how you used our resources to create fake portfolios for your girlfriend. Explain how you plan to propose with a ring bought with embezzled funds. His face had gone from pale to gray. How do you know about the ring? I know everything, Mr. Hayes, including the fact that tomorrow, at my mother's 60th birthday party, you plan to propose to my sister with a 3-carat diamond bought with money stolen from my company. The full realization finally hit him, his eyes widened, darting between my face and the nameplate on my desk. But Megan said you were a homeless drug addict, dead to the family. Yes, she's creative with stories. Must be where you learned it. I didn't know that the CEO you were stealing from was your girlfriend's estranged sister. Would that have stopped you? His silence was damning. I leaned forward. Here's what should happen. I should fire you immediately, have security escort you out, press criminal charges. With the evidence we have, you'd face 5 to 10 years in federal prison. White-collar crime is still crime, Mr. Hayes. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool office. Please, I'll pay it back. With what more stolen money, your maxed-out credit cards, the loans you've taken against a salary you're about to lose. Megan said her family had money, that once we were married. Let me paint you a picture. I stood moving to the window. My family does have money. Every month, $20,000 appears in their account. They think it's from Megan's successful career. It's not. It's from me, the daughter they disowned, the thief who never stole anything except their blame. I turned back to him. My father's construction company is failing. The only reason he hasn't lost everything is my money. My mother is being slowly poisoned by the daughter they kept drugged to stay compliant and confused. And you're just another parasite feeding off lies while contributing to the destruction. Poisoned! His voice cracked. What are you talking about? I dropped the pharmacy report on the desk. Zolpidem in her tea, enough to cause confusion, not enough to kill, just enough to keep her from asking why their only daughter has designer everything while they struggle to pay bills. The full scope of what he'd entangled himself in was dawning on him. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know any of this. Ignorance isn't innocence. You knew you were stealing. You knew Megan's stories didn't add up. You chose to believe what benefited you. What do you want from me? I returned to my desk, pulling out a different folder. Option 1, I fire you now. Press charges. You spend the weekend in jail instead of at a party. Megan finds out you're a fraud when you don't show up. The ring gets returned. You start over with a criminal record. And option 2, you attend the party tomorrow. Play your role. When everything unravels, and it will, you tell the truth. Every bit of it. What you stole, why you stole it, what Megan told you versus what you discovered. Complete honesty. That's it. No, you'll also sign this. I pushed a confession across the desk. Full admission of guilt. Agreement to repay everything with interest. Cooperation with any investigation. In exchange, I don't press criminal charges. You get fired but not imprisoned. He read through it, his hands shaking. This says I have to testify about Megan's fraud, too. She's been committing identity theft, financial fraud, and elder abuse. You've been helping her create false documents. You're already an accessory. I thought I was just helping her build a portfolio for jobs she never had, at companies that don't exist. Using my company's computers and software, I let that sink in. Sign it or don't, but decide now. He picked up the pen, hesitated. What happens at the party? Truth, finally and completely. Will you destroy her? I considered the question. Megan had destroyed so much my relationship with our parents, mom's health, dad's trust, 2 years of family bonds. But she was still my sister, still the girl I'd taught to ride a bike, still family, despite everything. She's destroying herself. I'm just turning on the lights. He signed every page, his signature getting shakier with each one. When he finished, he looked broken, older than his 25 years. The ring, I said. You'll bring it tomorrow. When the moment comes, you'll tell everyone exactly how you paid for it. She'll hate me. She already hates herself. That's why she does this. You're just collateral damage. He stood to leave, then paused. Why didn't you just show them the security footage? Prove your innocence from the start. It was the same question I'd asked myself countless times. Because they chose to believe her without it. Trust isn't trust if it requires proof. Love isn't love if it's conditional on evidence. But you lost everything. No, I corrected. I lost them. I found everything else. Success, self-respect, truth. Tomorrow we'll see if those can coexist with family. After he left, I sat in the quiet of my office, surrounded by evidence of crimes and lies. Tomorrow's party would bring pain to my parents, who'd learned their reality was fiction. To Megan, whose house of cards would collapse. To the extended family who'd witnessed the ugly truth beneath our perfect facade. But it would also bring freedom. No more secrets. No more anonymous payments. No more ghost daughter funding their lives from the shadows. Marcus knocked, entering with a question in his eyes. How did it go? He signed. He'll cooperate. And you, how are you? I looked at the Seattle skyline, bright now with afternoon sun. Somewhere out there, my mother was being sedated with drugged tea. My father was pretending his business thrived. My sister was trying on dresses for a party where she'd play devoted daughter. I'm ready, I said, ready to stop being their secret, ready to stop being their shame, ready to be seen. Even if they reject you again. They rejected someone who didn't exist, the thief they imagined. Tomorrow they'll meet who I really am. What they do with that truth is their choice. The dominoes were set. Ryan would bring his stolen ring. Megan would wear her false crown. My parents would celebrate in my hotel, never knowing their benefactor owned the walls around them. Until they did. The performance review was complete. Tomorrow would bring the final act. And for the first time in 2 years, I wouldn't be watching from the shadows. I'd be center stage where the truth belonged. The call from my private investigator came at 6 in the morning on the day of the party. His voice, usually professionally detached, carried an edge of urgency that made me sit up in bed. Ms. Morrison, I found something you need to see immediately. Can you meet me in an hour? Anthony Reeves operated from a nondescript office building in Pioneer Square, the kind of place you'd walk past 1,000 times without noticing. I'd hired him 6 months ago on Marcus's recommendation, and he'd never disappointed. But he'd also never sounded this concerned. I arrived to find him surrounded by bankers' boxes, laptop screens, and what looked like medical charts spread across a conference table. His usually immaculate appearance was disheveled, suggesting an all-night investigation session. Coffee, he offered, gesturing to a fresh pot. Just tell me what you found. He pulled out a chair for me, then began arranging documents in chronological order. Let's start with your father's business. Morrison Construction isn't just failing, it's being systematically drained. He showed me financial records dating back 3 years. Your father took out a private loan 18 months ago, not from a bank, but from Vincent Castellano. I recognized the name. Castellano operated in the gray areas of Seattle's business world, not quite criminal, but far from legitimate. A loan shark. With interest rates that would make your credit cards look charitable, your father borrowed $200,000. He now owes close to $500,000. That's impossible. I've been sending $20,000 a month, which is the only reason Castellano hasn't collected more aggressively. Anthony pulled up bank records. Your money goes in immediately, goes out to pay interest. Not principal, just interest. Your father's been treading water, getting deeper with each month. I studied the transactions, seeing the pattern clearly now. He has no idea the payments are from me. None. The shell company was expertly structured, but here's where it gets interesting. He pulled out another folder. Castellano has a silent partner, someone who specifically targeted your father's business, offered the loan at a vulnerable moment, and structured it to be unpayable. My stomach tightened. I'm still tracing shell companies, but the timing is suspicious. The loan was offered 2 weeks after your family disowned you. Someone knew your father would be vulnerable, prideful, and desperate to prove he didn't need you. Megan. She's not sophisticated enough for this, but she might know who is. He moved to the medical charts. Speaking of your sister, let's discuss what she's doing to your mother. The charts showed a clear pattern. Emergency room visits increasing in frequency, symptoms consistently pointing to overmedication. Each incident preceded by family discussions about money, Alexa, or inconsistencies in Megan's stories. I had a pharmacology expert review these, Anthony explained. The zolpidem in her tea is just the latest. There's evidence of benzodiazepine use, occasional opioids, even antipsychotics, all prescribed by different doctors, all filled at different pharmacies, all organized by Megan. She's keeping mom sedated. Controlled is more accurate. Your mother starts asking questions, she gets confused. Mentions wanting to contact you, she has a bad episode. It's psychological conditioning through chemistry. I felt sick. For 2 years. The pattern started about 6 months after you left. My guess, your mother began questioning the narrative. Megan needed her compliant. He pulled out photographs. These were taken this week. Mom looked like a ghost of herself. The vibrant woman who'd raised us was pale, thin, her eyes unfocused. In every photo, Megan hovered nearby, playing the devoted daughter while slowly destroying the mother she claimed to protect. When there's more, Anthony continued. I've been tracking your sister's actual activities versus her claimed ones. The marketing firm she supposedly works for, it exists, but they've never heard of her. The clients she name drops, no record of any interaction. The awards she's won purchased from diploma mills that sell fake recognition. So everything is fabricated. Everything except her debt. He showed me credit reports that made my eyes water. 7 credit cards maxed out. Personal loans from 6 different companies. She's been juggling minimum payments using cash advances from other cards. Total debt over $300,000. How is she maintaining her lifestyle? That's the interesting part. He pulled up surveillance photos. She's been seen entering this building multiple times. I looked at the address and froze. It was one of Seattle's most exclusive escort services, the kind that catered to tech executives and foreign businessmen. You're not suggesting... I'm showing you facts. What she does there I can't say, but the timing coincides with large cash deposits in her accounts, deposits that keep her afloat just enough to maintain appearances. I sat back, trying to process everything. My family was drowning in deeper waters than I'd imagined. Dad trapped by a loan shark, Mom being slowly poisoned, Megan selling herself to fund lies. And somewhere in this chaos, they all believed she was their savior, while I was their shame. The boyfriend, Ryan Hayes, Anthony continued, he's the least of your problems, but he's been useful. His embezzlement is traceable, documented. When this unravels, he'll be the easiest thread to pull. Does he know about Megan's activities? Doubtful. She's kept that separate. He believes her lies like everyone else. I stood needing to move. The office felt too small for these revelations. Who was behind the loan to my father? Who structured this trap? Still investigating, but I have a theory. Anthony pulled out one final document. 3 months before the loan offers someone registered an LLC in Delaware. Hidden ownership, but the paperwork trail leads back to Seattle. The same LLC has been buying up properties around your father's construction sites, forcing him into worse contracts, smaller margins. Someone's been targeting him specifically. Someone with resources, patience, and specific knowledge of your family's vulnerabilities. This isn't random, Ms. Morrison. This is orchestrated. I thought about everyone who might want to hurt my family, who had the means and motive. The list was short but troubling. Keep digging, I instructed. I need to know who's behind this before tonight. The party's still happening. Now more than ever. Whoever's orchestrating this expects my family to continue their spiral. My appearance will disrupt their plans. Anthony nodded, gathering specific files into a briefcase. These are copies of everything: medical evidence, financial records, surveillance photos. Whatever happens tonight, you'll have proof. I took the briefcase its weight, both physical and metaphorical. What would you do in my position? He considered carefully. Your family made choices based on lies. Your sister fed those lies. Someone else profited from them. You've been trying to save people who don't know they're drowning. He met my eyes. Maybe it's time to drain the pool. I left his office as the morning shifted to afternoon. Seattle was waking up properly now, people heading to weekend markets, couples grabbing brunch, families starting their Saturdays. Normal life continuing while mine prepared to implode. Back in my car, I called Marcus. I need you to do something for me. Anything. Contact the Fairmont. I want security cameras operational in the private dining room. Every angle, every corner. Whatever happens tonight needs to be documented. Alexa, are you sure? Someone's been playing puppet master with my family, destroying them while I've been trying to save them. Tonight, we find out who. I drove to the Fairmont, my hotel, as of 48 hours ago. The staff didn't know me yet, which was perfect. I walked through the lobby like any other guest riding the elevator to survey the party space. The private dining room was already being decorated. Cream and gold everywhere, photos of Mom through the years, flowers that must have cost a fortune. All paid for with money that came from me, filtered through lies and theft. A worker was adjusting a banner. Happy 60th birthday, Carol, love your devoted daughter, Megan. Daughter, singular. I thought about Anthony's revelations. Mom drugged into compliance whenever she remembered she had 2 daughters. Dad drowning in debt. He'd never escape without my help. Megan selling herself in ways that would horrify our parents, all to maintain a fiction that was killing everyone. And behind it all, someone pulling strings, profiting from our destruction. Excuse me, miss. A security guard approached. This area is reserved for a private event. I know, I said, turning to leave. I'll see it tonight. He looked confused but didn't stop me. Why would he? I wasn't on any list. I wasn't expected. I wasn't supposed to exist in this family's celebration. 6 hours until the party. 6 hours until truth met lies. 6 hours until the daughter they'd erased returned to reclaim her place, not through forgiveness, but through revelation. I drove home to prepare the briefcase of evidence beside me. Each document told a story of destruction, manipulation, greed. Together, they painted a picture of a family being systematically destroyed while believing they were thriving. Tonight, I'd show them the canvas. Whether they'd see the truth or cling to comfortable lies remained to be determined. But one thing was certain: the investigation was complete. Now came the reckoning. The afternoon before the party found me in my penthouse apartment, surrounded by 2 years of evidence and wrestling with decisions that would reshape my family forever. Through floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle's skyline glittered in the fading light, indifferent to the storm I was about to unleash. Marcus arrived at 3, carrying garment bags and wearing his worried face. I brought options, he said, laying out 3 dresses on my bed. Board meeting power suit, understated elegance, or knockout glamour. Which says, surprise, I'm not a homeless drug addict, I actually own this hotel. Probably the middle one, designer, but not ostentatious. You want them looking at you, not just the clothes. I held up the midnight blue dress, its simple lines belying the couture construction. It was perfect, sophisticated without screaming wealth, elegant without trying too hard. The daughter they remembered wrapped in the success they couldn't imagine. Anthony sent over more information, Marcus said, pulling out his tablet. The LLC behind your father's loan, it's connected to Richard Hawthorne. The name hit like cold water. Richard Hawthorne, Dad's former business partner who'd tried to force a buyout 5 years ago. The split had been ugly, leaving lawsuits and burned bridges. Dad had won keeping his company, but Richard had promised he'd regret it. He's been playing the long game, I murmured, waiting until Dad was vulnerable. It gets worse. Hawthorne's son Bradley. He's Castellano's silent partner. They've been working together to destroy your father's business and acquire it for pennies. I thought about Dad, proud and stubborn, never knowing his former partner was orchestrating his downfall. Does my father know? Doubtful. The paper trail is complex, hidden behind shell companies. Without Anthony's investigation, I wouldn't have found it either. My phone buzzed. Sarah texting updates from party preparation. Your mom keeps asking about the guest list. Megan shut her down hard. Now Carol's resting in her room seems confused again. Tell me Megan's not there alone with her. Your Aunt Patricia is there. She's worried, but doesn't know what to do. I made a decision. Marcus, I need you to call Patricia. Don't tell her everything, but hint that she should watch what Megan gives Mom to drink. Say it's a concerned friend who noticed something at previous gatherings. While he made the call, I continued preparing. The hotel ownership papers went into a leather portfolio. Anthony's evidence filled a discreet briefcase. Ryan's confession was copied and secured, every piece of ammunition organized and ready. Patricia's alarmed but listening, Marcus reported. She'll keep Mom safe until tonight. Good. Now let's discuss the actual plan. We spent the next hour strategizing. The party started at 7. I'd arrive at 8 after cocktails but before dinner. Maximum impact, minimum time for them to eject me before the truth came out. Security footage, I asked. Already arranged. The Fairmont's new owner apparently wanted comprehensive coverage of all events. He smiled grimly. They don't know they're recording for you. And Ryan? Confirmed attending. He's been at a bar since noon. Liquid courage for proposing with a stolen ring. I felt a twinge of pity for him. Just a foolish young man who'd believed the wrong woman committed crimes for false love. But then I remembered the 90,000 he'd stolen the employees whose bonuses would be affected the trust he'd violated. Pity had limits. By 5 o'clock, I was transformed. Hair professionally styled in an elegant updo that Mom had always said made me look like Grace Kelly. Makeup subtle but flawless, highlighting features I'd inherited from her. The midnight blue dress fit like it was sewn onto me, appropriate for a family party, yet clearly expensive. You look like yourself, Marcus said softly, the self they never bothered to see. I added the final touches. Diamond earrings I'd bought to celebrate my first million. A watch that cost more than Dad's trucks. A necklace elegant in its simplicity. Nothing like the charm bracelet I'd tried to give Mom that horrible Thanksgiving. The files I asked. In your car, everything labeled and organized. Security will have copies in the hotel safe. He paused. Alexa, are you prepared for the possibility they still won't believe you, even with evidence? I'd thought about little else. Truth doesn't need their belief to be true. I'm done hiding, done funding their lies from the shadows. Whatever happens after tonight, at least it'll be real. My phone rang, Anthony with last-minute intelligence. Ms. Morrison, I've confirmed something important. Megan doesn't know about Hawthorne's involvement. She's been too focused on her own schemes to realize someone's playing a bigger game. So she's a victim too, in a way. A victim who chose to poison your mother and destroy your reputation. Don't let sympathy cloud judgment. He was right. Megan might be a pawn in Hawthorne's game, but she'd made her moves willingly, cruelly. There's one more thing, Anthony added. I've stationed some of my team at the hotel. Discreet observation. If things escalate, you'll have backup. Expecting violence? Expecting desperate people to act desperately when cornered. Your sister has too much to lose. Your father has too much pride. Castellano has too much money at stake. Be careful. After we hung up, I did a final check. Evidence secured, appearance flawless. Hotel ownership documents ready. 2 years of preparation distilled into one night. Marcus drove me to the Fairmont, knowing I'd be too emotional to drive myself back. As we pulled up to the valet, I could see the party through the windows. Warm, light laughter, the silhouettes of family members I hadn't seen in 2 years. You don't have to do this, Marcus said quietly. We could turn around, let them live their lives. You've built a beautiful life without them. A life in shadows, I corrected, sending anonymous money while they tell people I'm dead or worse, watching my mother get sicker while my sister plays doctor, seeing my father's pride destroy him while vultures circle. I touched the door handle. I'm done being their ghost. Then go haunt them properly. I laughed despite everything. Wait here. If I'm not out in 2 hours, I'll come in with lawyers and security. I know the drill. I stepped out into the Seattle evening cool air, carrying the scent of rain. The Fairmont doorman, not recognizing his new owner, opened the door with professional courtesy. The lobby was busy with normal Saturday night activities. Tourists, business travelers, couples heading to dinner. None of them knew that 3 floors up a family was about to shatter and reform. I took the elevator, watching floors pass like years rewinding. Ground floor, the successful present. Second floor, the struggling past. Third floor, the moment of impact. The doors opened to reveal the hallway leading to the private dining room. I could hear the party music voices, the clink of glasses. 62 people celebrating a woman who didn't know her tea was drugged, hosted by a daughter who lied with every breath in a hotel owned by the child they'd erased. I paused at the mirror outside the dining room, checking my reflection one last time. The woman looking back wasn't the 26-year-old who'd fled in tears. She was harder, stronger, sadder. She was ready. Through the door's window, I could see them. Mom, frailer than her photos, smiling vacantly at something Aunt Patricia said. Dad, louder than necessary, compensating for fear with volume. Megan, glittering in a dress she couldn't afford, playing hostess with brittle perfection. And Ryan, sweating through his suit, patting his pocket where $90,000 in stolen diamonds waited. The scene was set, the players in position, the truth locked and loaded. I put my hand on the door handle, took a breath that went soul deep, and prepared to return from the dead. Time to show them that silent power speaks loudest when it finally finds its voice. I stood outside the door for 30 seconds. That felt like 30 years, listening to the muffled sounds of celebration inside. Through the narrow window, I watched my family's choreographed happiness, Megan gliding between guests with practiced smiles, Dad holding court with his construction stories, Mom seated like a pale queen, slightly confused but trying to follow conversations. My phone vibrated. Sarah. Where are you? Megan's about to make a toast. Perfect timing. Let her set the stage for my entrance. I pushed open the door. The private dining room was exactly what Megan would choose, opulent but tasteless, all gold accents and crystal chandeliers trying too hard to impress. Round tables draped in cream linens filled the space, each centerpiece an explosion of roses that must have cost $500 per table. A photographer circled the room, capturing false memories. No one noticed me at first. I stood in the doorway, letting my eyes adjust to more than just the light. There was Uncle Robert, heavier than I remembered. Cousin Jennifer, pregnant with her second child. Family friends, Neighbors' dad's construction crew, all dressed in their finest, all here to celebrate the woman I'd been erased from. Then Aunt Patricia glanced toward the door. Our eyes met. Her champagne glass slipped from nerveless fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The crash silenced the room. Heads turned in sequence like dominoes falling. Recognition dawned in waves, shock, disbelief, confusion. Someone gasped. Someone whispered my name. The photographer, still on autopilot, raised his camera and captured the moment my family realized their ghost had returned. Alexa. Mom's voice, thin and uncertain, cut through the silence. I stepped into the room, my heels clicking on marble with metronomic precision. Hello, Mom. Happy birthday. Chaos erupted. Megan's face cycled through emotions like a slot machine. Surprise, fear, rage, calculation. She recovered quickly, storming toward me with murder in her eyes. How dare you? Her voice pitched high with hysteria. You're not welcome here. This is a private event. I'm aware, I said calmly. I own the venue. That stopped her mid-stride. Behind her, Ryan had gone pale, recognizing disaster when it wore a midnight blue dress. Dad found his voice, using it like a weapon. Get out! Now! You have no right to be here! Frank, wait. Mom started to stand, unsteady. No! Dad's face was purple with rage. I told you 2 years ago you're not my daughter. Nothing's changed. Everything's changed, I countered, walking deeper into the room. Guests parted like the Red Sea, unsure whether to intervene. But you wouldn't know that, would you? Too busy taking money from loan sharks to notice? He flinched like I'd slapped him. What are you talking about? Vincent Castellano, ring a bell, or were you too desperate to read the fine print when you borrowed $200,000 from him? Megan tried to regain control. She's lying. She's probably high. Look at her. In a designer dress worth more than your car. I turned to face the room. Yes, everyone look at me. Do I look like the homeless drug addict my sister's been describing? Do I look like someone who needs to steal jewelry to survive? Those clothes are probably stolen too, Megan spat. From my own closet, that would be impressive. I pulled out my phone, showing my corporate ID on the screen. Alexa Morrison, CEO of FinTech Solutions. You might recognize the name, we just went public. Stock symbol FTS. Feel free to Google it. The photographer was still shooting, documenting every moment. Good. Let him capture the truth. I don't care what you call yourself, Dad growled. You're a thief and a liar. Am I? Then let's discuss the $20,000 that appears in your account every month. Mysterious, isn't it? Always on the 15th. Always from Evergreen Financial Services. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. She'd noticed the deposits, had questioned them. That's from Megan's job, Dad insisted, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Is it? I turned to my sister. Tell them about your marketing position, Megan. Which company was it again? Phoenix Digital Cascade Marketing, or was it Vertex Solutions this week? I work in digital marketing strategy, she said, but her voice wavered. For which company? Because I called them all. None have heard of you, though. I pulled out my phone. Secure Temp Agency has interesting records. Seems you've been doing temporary work. Very temporary. Hourly, in fact. At the Velvet Room. Several guests gasped. The Velvet Room's reputation was well known in Seattle. You're disgusting, Megan hissed. Making up lies? Like you made up lies about me being homeless, about me being a drug addict, about me stealing from our parents. I pulled out a folder. Should we compare evidence? Ryan chose that moment to intervene, stepping forward with false bravado. I think you should leave. You're upsetting everyone. I looked at him with pity. Mr. Hayes, still planning to propose tonight, did you bring the ring? His hand moved involuntarily to his pocket. Behind him, Megan's eyes widened. Ryan, she said, what's she talking about? Nothing. She's crazy. Crazy like someone who embezzles $90,000 from their employer. Crazy like someone who doesn't realize they're dating their CEO's sister. I smiled without warmth. By the way, you're fired. Security will be waiting when you leave. The room erupted again. Megan grabbed Ryan's arm. What is she talking about? Perhaps Ryan should explain how he afforded that 3-carat ring in his pocket, I suggested, or how you two have been living so lavishly on salaries that don't exist. You're lying. Am I? I pulled out bank statements. January through September. Every deposit from Megan's job, it's from Evergreen Financial. My company. My money. I've been supporting this family for 2 years while you told them I was nothing. Dad snatched the papers, scanning them with growing horror. The amounts, the dates, the electronic trail, all there in black and white. This can't be. It is. I turned to Mom, my voice gentling. I never stopped loving you, even when Dad said I was dead to him, even when you believed I was a thief. I made sure you were safe, that bills were paid, that you had what you needed. Tears streamed down Mom's face, but Megan said she showed us pictures. Fake pictures of a stranger. While she was showing you those, she was putting zolpidem in your tea. The accusation landed like a bomb. What? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Every time you started asking questions, every time you mentioned wanting to find me, she drugged you, kept you confused and compliant. I pulled out the pharmacy reports. 6 emergency room visits in 18 months, all for unexplained confusion, all after Megan made you tea. You're insane, Megan screamed. Mom, don't listen to her. But Aunt Patricia spoke up, her voice shaking. The tea. Oh my God, the tea. I watched you today, Megan. You added something. I thought it was sugar. The room turned on Megan like a tide shifting. She backed away, calculating escape routes. She's poisoning me, Mom's voice broke. My own daughter. Your only daughter, according to her. I stepped closer to Mom. She needed you quiet, needed you to stop asking why the stories didn't add up, why the money came so regularly, why your jewelry went missing right when she started shopping at Nordstrom. I knew it, Jennifer burst out. I knew she took Grandma's ring. It was worth $30,000. 45 actually, I corrected. I know because I tracked down the buyer. Mr. Chen at Chen's Fine Jewelry. He has receipts and security footage. Dad dropped into a chair like his strings were cut. The bank statements shook in his hands. 2 years of anonymous support right there in undeniable numbers. You've been paying everything. His voice was hollow. The mortgage, the business loans. Everything except the Castellano debt. I didn't know about that until this week. I met his eyes. Did you know Richard Hawthorne is behind it? He's been using his son and Castellano to destroy you, planning to buy Morrison Construction for nothing. The color drained from Dad's face. Richard, but the lawsuit was settled. Men like Hawthorne, don't forget. They get even. I pulled out Anthony's report. Every detail is here. How they trapped you, how they've been squeezing you, how they plan to finish you off within 6 months. The room was spinning with revelations. Guests whispered among themselves, choosing sides, processing the tsunami of truth. But I wasn't done. So yes, Dad, I'm here. Your disowned daughter, your imagined thief. The ghost who's kept you from bankruptcy while another daughter poisoned the woman we both love. I straightened, finding strength in truth. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The silence stretched taut, ready to snap. Then Ryan, sweet, stupid Ryan, decided to pull out the ring. Megan, he dropped to one knee, sweat pouring down his face. I love you. Marry me. She stared at him. Then at the ring, then at me. You said he embezzled. $90,000. That ring represents theft from my company, from me. I smiled coldly. But please, don't let that stop you. Accept stolen goods from a thief while accusing me of being one. The irony is perfect. She slapped him. Hard. The ring went flying, diamonds scattering light as it skittered across marble. And that's when Mom stood up. Enough. Her voice clear for the first time in months, cut through chaos. Everyone out, except my daughters, both of them. The room froze. Mom never raised her voice, never took charge. But something in her eyes' clarity, fighting through months of chemical fog, brooked no argument. Carol, Dad started. Out, Frank. You too, Ryan. Everyone. Now. Slowly, reluctantly, the room emptied. Aunt Patricia squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Jennifer whispered, I never believed it. The photographer tried to stay until Mom's glare sent him scurrying. Soon it was just 3 Morrison women surrounded by the debris of a party that had become a war zone. Mom looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in 2 years. Show me, she said quietly. Show me everything. So I did. Every bank statement, every medical report, every piece of evidence that painted the truth in stark relief. Megan tried to interrupt, to deflect, to deny, but Mom raised a hand for silence. When I finished, Mom turned to Megan. Is it true? The tea. Megan's face crumbled. I was trying to help. You kept getting upset, asking about her, making yourself sick. So you made me sicker. It was just to calm you down. I didn't mean... You drugged me, your own mother. Mom's voice was ice. While stealing from us, while taking credit for Alexa's support, while destroying our family with lies. She abandoned us. No, Mom said firmly. We abandoned her, on your word, on your lies. She turned to me. And you? You could have told us, could have shown us proof. Would you have believed it, or would you have thought I fabricated it all? I met her gaze. You chose her without question. Dad disowned me without pause. What was I supposed to do? Mom had no answer for that. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone, for the fraud, the theft, the poisoning. No. Mom's voice was firm. Not the police. Mom, she poisoned you. And she'll face consequences. But not jail. Not that. Mom looked at Megan. You'll go to rehab. Real rehab for whatever drives you to this. You'll pay back everything you stole. You'll get help. Mom. Or I press charges myself. Choose. Megan nodded, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, they might have been real. Mom turned to me. And you, my brave, stubborn, generous daughter, can you forgive an old woman's blindness? You're not old, I said automatically, and you were drugged. I was blind before the drugs. Blind to who you really were, who she really was. Mom reached for my hand. I'm sorry. God, Alexa, I'm so sorry. I let her take my hand. It felt fragile, bird-like. We have a lot to talk about. Yes, but first, Mom straightened, finding remnants of the woman she used to be. We're going back out there, all 3 of us, and we're going to tell everyone the truth. Then we're going to eat this overpriced dinner that my successful daughter secretly paid for, and then... She squeezed my hand. Then we start over, if you'll let us. I looked at Megan, broken and small, at Mom clear-eyed for the first time in months, at the door beyond, which Dad waited with his pride and shame. Okay, I said, let's try. We walked back into the party together, the mother, the prodigal daughter, and the fallen sister. The room fell silent again, but this time Mom controlled the narrative. She told them about the drugging, about the theft, about the lies. She told them about my success, my secret support, my love that survived betrayal. She introduced me properly, not as the disowned daughter, but as the CEO who'd never stopped being family. The reactions varied. Some relatives embraced me, others kept their distance. Ryan slunk out when security arrived. Dad stood in the corner wrestling with his pride. It wasn't a happy ending, not yet. Maybe not ever completely. But it was honest, it was real, and for the first time in 2 years, I wasn't a ghost at my own family's table. Sometimes that's all the new beginning you need. The private dining room had transformed from a celebration into a tribunal. As Mom finished her speech explaining the truth to our stunned relatives, I watched the ripple effects spread through the crowd. Some faces showed shock, others disappointment. A few, like Aunt Patricia, displayed a grim satisfaction at being proven right about their suspicions. Dad remained frozen in the corner, his face a battlefield where pride warred with shame. His construction crewmen who'd worked with him for decades shifted uncomfortably unsure how to process their boss's downfall. Meanwhile, Megan sat at an empty table, mascara streaming down her cheeks, the perfect daughter facade shattered beyond repair. So, Mom concluded, her voice steady despite everything, I ask for your understanding. Not for me, but for both my daughters. We have healing to do. Tonight, let's just try to salvage what we can. The silence stretched until Uncle Robert cleared his throat. Well, Carol, you always did know how to throw a memorable party. Nervous laughter rippled through the room, breaking the tension slightly. People began moving again, refilling drinks, murmuring in small groups. The photographer had disappeared entirely, probably selling his shots to whoever would pay most for society scandal. I started toward Dad, but Jennifer intercepted me. I knew it, she whispered fiercely, hugging me. When Grandma's ring went missing, I knew. But Megan was so convincing and you weren't there to defend yourself. It's okay, I said, though it wasn't. Not really. No, it's not. We're family. We should have. She broke off, glancing at her parents. Mom says she called you after, but the number was disconnected. I changed everything, started fresh. I didn't mention the months of therapy, the nights spent wondering if I'd made the right choice, the success that felt hollow without anyone to share it with. Across the room, Mom was trying to coax Megan into eating something. My sister looked smaller, somehow designer dress hanging on a frame that had carried too many lies for too long. When our eyes met, she flinched. I made a decision and walked over. Don't, Megan said as I approached. Whatever you're going to say, just don't. I was going to ask if you're okay. She laughed bitterly. Am I okay? You just destroyed my life in front of everyone I know. So no, Alexa, I'm not okay. You destroyed your own life. I just turned on the lights. Well, spare me the metaphors. She pushed food around her plate without eating. You could have come back any time. Could have shown them proof from day one, but you waited. You planned this. I planned to support our parents while you poisoned one and lied to the other. Mom's hand covered mine. Girls, please, not now. But Megan wasn't finished. You want to know why I did it? Really want to know. Her eyes burned with something beyond tears. Because you were perfect, always. Straight A's, full scholarship, everyone's favorite. Even when you left, you were the ghost they couldn't stop loving. So you decided to make me a villain. I decided to be enough. For once, I was enough. Her voice cracked. Their only daughter, the one who stayed, the one who cared. You drugged our mother. I gave her peace. She was making herself sick, crying over you, wondering what she did wrong. The medication helped her cope. Megan, Mom's voice was sharp. Stop! What you did was wrong. Don't compound it with justification. What I did, Megan stood abruptly. What about what you did? Choosing her over me from the start. Even now, even after everything you're looking at, her like she hung the moon while I'm just the disappointment who stayed. That's not... It is, Megan grabbed her purse. It always has been. Well, congratulations, Alexa. You win. Again. Enjoy your victory. She stormed out, leaving silence in her wake. Several relatives tried to follow, but Mom waved them off. Let her go, she said quietly. She needs time. She needs therapy, I corrected, and rehab, and to face consequences. Yes, all of that. But tonight? Mom looked exhausted suddenly, the clarity in her eyes fighting against months of chemical fog. Tonight, I just want my family back, whatever's left of it. I helped her to a chair, noticing how she leaned on me. The Zolpidem and whatever else Megan had been giving her had taken a toll. Tomorrow, we'd see real doctors. Tonight, we just had to survive. Alexa, Dad's voice gruff and uncertain made me turn. He stood awkwardly, this man who'd once loomed so large now seeming diminished. We need to talk. Do we... Frank, Mom warned... No, Carol, I need to... I have to. He struggled with words, this man who usually commanded with volume. The money, you really... Every month, 20,000, more when the business struggled. I met his gaze steadily, even after you said I was dead to you. His face contorted. Why? Because you're my father, even when you decided I wasn't your daughter. He flinched. Around us, the party continued in muted tones, people eating expensive food that tasted like ash, making small talk around the elephant graveyard in the room. The Hawthorne thing, he said finally. Is it true? I pulled out the file Anthony had compiled. Every word. He's been playing you for 2 years, using your pride against you. The loan was designed to be unpayable. He wants Morrison construction, and he almost has it. Dad's hands shook as he read. I watched him process the betrayal, the manipulation, the near loss of everything he'd built. I can help, I offered quietly. Restructure the debt, buy out Castellano, block Hawthorne's takeover, but it comes with conditions. His jaw tightened. Conditions? Therapy for all of us. Family counseling. And you publicly acknowledge what happened here. No more lies, no more saving face. Truth. You want me to humiliate myself? I want you to be honest. There's a difference. He looked around the room at his crew, his brothers, his friends, people he'd need to face Monday morning, people who now knew his successful business was a failure, his perfect daughter was a fraud, and his disowned daughter was his savior. I don't know if I can, he admitted. Then you'll lose everything. Hawthorne will take the company, Castellano will take the house, and you'll have thrown away your family for pride. I softened my tone. Or you can accept help, accept truth, accept that maybe you were wrong. I was wrong. The words came out strangled. God, Alexa, I was so wrong. When Megan said, when she showed us, I should have known, should have trusted. Yes, you should have. He reached for me, then stopped uncertain. This man who'd once swept me up in bear hugs now didn't know if he could touch his own daughter. Can you forgive me? He asked. I don't know, I answered honestly, but I'm willing to try. Are you? He nodded, Adam's apple bobbing. The therapy thing, you really think? I think we're all broken in different ways. Maybe professionals can help us figure out if we can heal together or just apart. Together, Mom said firmly. We heal together. We've lost too much already. Dad pulled out a chair, sitting heavily. For the first time since I'd arrived, he really looked at me. CEO, huh? Your company went public. Last month, IPO was oversubscribed by 300%. I don't know what that means, but it sounds impressive. It means your daughter is worth approximately $400 million. He choked on air. 400 million. Yes. I sat across from him, Mom between us. Which is why Megan's shopping sprees and Ryan's embezzlement are particularly ironic. They were stealing pennies while I would have given them dollars. Would you have really, Mom asked, given Megan money after what she did? I considered it. Honestly, probably not. She needed to fail, needed to face consequences, but I would have made sure she didn't starve, just like I made sure you didn't lose your house. We need to call her, Mom said. Make sure she's safe. I have someone watching her, I admitted. Security, to ensure she doesn't do anything this drastic. Dad's eyebrows rose. You really did plan this. I protected myself while protecting you. There's a difference between planning revenge and preparing for truth. Uncle Robert approached tentatively. Sorry to interrupt, but people are asking, should we continue with dinner? Cut the cake. Mom laughed, actually laughed. Why not? We've paid for it. Alexa's paid for it, apparently. Might as well eat. So we did. The world's most awkward birthday dinner with empty chairs where Megan and Ryan should have been, in truth, sitting heavy over every course. But slowly, tentatively, people began talking, asking me about my company, sharing memories of better times, attempting to bridge 2 years of absence with words and wine. Sarah arrived during dessert, having heard the news through the family grapevine. She took one look at the scene and came straight to me. "You okay?" she asked, pulling me aside. "I have no idea," I admitted. "I've imagined this moment 1,000 times. It never went quite like this." "Reality rarely matches our plans." She glanced at Dad, who was listening to Uncle Robert tell a story, but kept looking my way. "He seems broken." "We all are in different ways." "And Megan?" "Gone. Probably halfway through a bottle of wine and a credit card application by now." Sarah winced. "What happens next?" "Honestly, I don't know. Mom wants to rebuild. Dad's too proud to know what he wants. Megan's too broken to admit she needs help. And me? I looked around the room, my hotel, my family, my tragedy and triumph mixed. I'm just trying to figure out if some bridges are worth rebuilding or if it's better to construct something entirely new." "What does your gut say?" My gut was too full of emotions to say anything clearly, but as I watched Mom carefully eating birthday cake, fighting through the fog of months of drugging to stay present, I knew one thing. "It says they're still my family, damaged, difficult, sometimes dangerous, but family." "Then you have your answer." The party wound down slowly, people unsure of the protocol for leaving a disaster. Mom hugged each guest, apologizing and thanking in equal measure. Dad shook hands, accepting condolences like a man at a funeral, which in a way, he was the funeral of illusions. As the last guest departed, leaving just immediate family, I surveyed the wreckage. Wilted flowers, half-eaten food, scattered chairs, the debris of truth's explosion. "I should go," I said. "Let you all process." "No." Mom's hand caught mine. "Please, not yet. We just got you back." "You didn't get me back. You got to meet who I became without you." The words came out harsher than intended. "Then let us meet her properly." Dad stood crossing to us. "Let us try to know this person our daughter became." "It's late. You're all exhausted." "We've been exhausted for 2 years," Mom interrupted. "Fighting shadows, believing lies, losing ourselves. Don't leave us in darkness again." I looked at them. These people who'd raised me, failed me, needed me without knowing it. The anger was still there, might always be there, but beneath it, stubborn and stupid and insistent love remained. "Okay," I said, "but not here. This room has seen enough drama." "Where then?" Dad asked. I made another decision. Maybe foolish, definitely risky. "My place, it's not far. We can talk properly. Mom needs real food, not party appetizers, and we need privacy for what comes next." They agreed immediately, too eager to question the offer. As we gathered belongings and headed for the exit, I caught our reflection in a mirror. 3 people who looked like family but weren't sure how to be one anymore. Time would tell if we could learn, but at least finally, we were willing to try. My penthouse apartment had never felt smaller than when my parents entered it. Dad stopped just inside the doorway, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows, showcasing Seattle's glittering nightline. Mom moved more slowly, her eyes tracking across the original paintings, custom furniture, and the understated elegance that whispered rather than shouted wealth. "This is..." Dad's voice trailed off. "Different from what you imagined a homeless drug addict would have." I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. Alexa." Mom's reproach was gentle but present. She settled onto the cream leather sofa, looking frailer than ever against its pristine surface. "It's beautiful. You've done well." "I've done more than well." I moved to the kitchen, needing the barrier of granite countertops between us. "Can I get you anything? Water, tea?" I caught myself. "Actually, just water. I'll make the tea." The reference to Megan's poison tea hung in the air like smoke. Mom's face tightened, but she just nodded. As I prepared drinks, Dad wandered the living room like a lost tourist. He stopped at my wall of achievements-framed magazine covers, featuring Me Industry Awards, the IPO announcement from the Wall Street Journal. "Forbes, 30 under 30, he read aloud. "Tech Innovator of the Year. Seattle Business Journal's CEO to watch. Each title seemed to hit him physically. All this time you were succeeding. Yes, without you. Despite you, because of you, I'm not sure which anymore. I brought over water and the tea I'd made myself, watching Mom take a careful sip. It's good, she said, and we both knew she meant more than the tea. Dad picked up a framed photo from a side table me, ringing the NYSE bell on IPO day, surrounded by my executive team. Marcus stood to my right, beaming with pride. These people, they're your family now. They're my colleagues, my friends, the people who believed in me when my actual family didn't. He set the photo down carefully. We made a mistake. You made a choice. Based on lies, yes, but still a choice. You could have asked for proof, could have trusted my word over hers, could have done anything except immediately disown me. I was angry. You were proud, too proud to consider you might be wrong, too proud to verify accusations, too proud to give your daughter the benefit of the doubt. I sat across from them, the coffee table, an ocean between us, and that pride nearly cost you everything. It did cost us everything, Mom said quietly. We lost you. Megan lost herself. We lost each other. Silence settled over us, heavy with the weight of 2 wasted years. Outside, a siren wailed through the streets below, a reminder that the city continued its chaos, regardless of our personal dramas. Tell us, Mom said finally. Tell us all of it, from the beginning. So, I did. I told them about fleeing to my car that Thanksgiving night, sobbing too hard to drive safely, about sleeping in a hotel because I couldn't face my empty apartment, about throwing myself into work with the desperation of someone trying to outrun pain. I explained how the app I'd been developing became my salvation, how 18-hour days blurred together, fueled by heartbreak and determination. How the first investor meeting went badly. I was too emotional, too raw. But the second went better, and by the third, I'd learned to channel pain into passion, rejection into drive. The first million came 6 months after you disowned me, I said. I celebrated alone with Chinese takeout and expensive champagne that tasted like nothing. Mom's tears fell silently. Dad sat rigid, absorbing each word like a physical blow. I told them about watching from afar, hiring investigators to ensure they were safe, seeing photos of family gatherings. I wasn't part of reading about Dad's business struggles in trade publications, about the decision to help anonymously, knowing pride would make them refuse direct assistance. Every month I'd transfer the money and wonder if this would be when you figured it out, when you'd realize the timing, the amounts, the coincidences. But you never did. We were too busy surviving to question providence, Dad admitted, and Megan was always there with explanations. Ah, yes, Megan's explanations. I pulled out my phone, showing them screenshots, her LinkedIn profile listing jobs she never had, Instagram posts from hotels she couldn't afford, designer goods that mysteriously appeared whenever Mom's jewelry went missing. She said she was saving us, Mom whispered, said her success was the only thing keeping us afloat. We were so grateful. You were drugged. Literally, your gratitude was chemically induced to prevent questions. The harshness made Mom flinch. I forced myself to soften. I'm sorry. I know you're victims too, but I need you to understand the scope of what she did, what you enabled by believing her. What else? Dad asked. What else don't we know? I debated how much truth they could handle in one night, but half-truths had destroyed us. Maybe complete honesty could begin healing. The Velvet Room, do you know what that is? Both shook their heads. It's an escort service, high-end, exclusive. Megan's been working there for 8 months. The words landed like bombs. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's face went from red to white to gray. No, Mom breathed. She wouldn't. Not that. She would and did, to maintain the lifestyle she was pretending to have, to keep you believing she was successful while systematically destroying me. I showed them surveillance photos, Megan entering the building, leaving hours later deposits, appearing in her account the next day. Dad stood abruptly pacing to the window. His reflection looked broken-aged, a decade in an hour. Our daughter is a woman who made desperate choices to maintain desperate lies, I finished. Just like you made desperate choices borrowing from Castellano. Desperation runs in this family, apparently. Don't compare me to... To what? To whom? Your daughter, the thief. Your daughter, the escort. Your daughter, the CEO. I stood to facing him. We're all your daughter's dad, the ones you failed in different ways. I didn't fail you. You left. You threw me out. Literally told me I was dead to you. What was I supposed to do? Beg, grovel. Prove my innocence to people who should have never doubted it. Yes, the word exploded from him. Yes, you should have fought, should have made us see. I shouldn't have had to. I was shouting now, 2 years of pain erupting. I was your daughter, 26 years of being good, honest, helpful, and one accusation made you forget all of it. Stop! Mom's voice cut through our anger. She stood unsteadily looking between us. Stop this, both of you. We turned to her, both breathing hard. She looked so small, so fragile, but her voice carried steel. You're both right, and both wrong. Frank, you should have trusted her. Alexa, you should have fought for us. We all made choices that led here. She moved between us, a hand on each of our arms. The question is what we do now. Now, I laughed bitterly. Now we face reality. Dad's business is failing. You've been poisoned for months. Megan's in free fall, and I've been playing puppet master from the shadows. There's no magic fix for this. I'm not asking for magic, Mom said. I'm asking for a chance. You had chances. Every month when that money appeared. Every time you could have questioned Megan's stories. Every moment you could have reached out. With what? Dad interrupted. You changed your number, moved, vanished. We tried. No, Megan told you I was homeless and you believed her. Did you check homeless shelters, addiction centers, hospitals, or did you just accept it because it was easier than admitting you might have wronged me? But his silence was answer enough. I need to show you something else. I went to my home office, returning with a thick folder. Every payment, every transfer, every dollar I've sent. Detailed records of keeping you afloat while you thought I was dying in the streets. They spread the papers on the coffee table, seeing the truth in undeniable numbers. 20,000 monthly for 2 years. Extra for Dad's equipment repairs. Bonuses when Mom's medical bills spiked. Nearly $500,000 total. This is... Dad couldn't finish. Love, I said simply. Stupid, stubborn love that survived your rejection. But I'm done hiding it. Done pretending I don't care. Done funding lives that exclude me. What are you saying? Mom asked. I'm saying the anonymous payments stop. The shell company dissolves. If you want my help and you need it badly, it comes with conditions. You'd blackmail us. Dad's pride flared again. I'd require honesty, therapy, accountability. Megan gets treatment or faces prosecution. You get counseling or lose the business. Mom gets real medical care, full evaluation, recovery support. I met their eyes. And we all get family therapy, together, weekly, no excuses. And if we refuse, then you face Hawthorne and Castellano alone. Megan faces fraud charges alone. Mom recovers alone. And I continue my life having tried one last time. That's cruel, Mom said softly. That's boundaries. Something this family has never had. I gestured around my apartment. I built this without you, succeeded despite you, but part of me still wants to do it with you. That part is making this offer. Once. They looked at each other. 40 years of marriage, allowing silent communication. Finally, Dad spoke. Hawthorne really orchestrated everything. Everything. I have the proof. His son Bradley is Castellano's silent partner. They've been playing you perfectly, using your pride against you. 6 more months, and Morrison Construction would have been theirs for pennies. Can you stop them? I can buy out the debt, Restructure everything, block their takeover, save the company. I paused, but I won't be silent anymore. Everyone will know your daughter saved you, the real story, not Megan's fiction. Everyone will know I failed. Everyone will know you're human, that you were deceived, that you're working to make amends. I softened slightly. Or everyone can watch Hawthorne destroy you. Your choice. Some choice, he muttered. Better than the choice you gave me 2 years ago. Mom intervened again. We'll do it. All of it. Therapy, treatment, truth. Whatever it takes to have our daughter back. Daughters, I corrected. Megan needs help, not abandonment. I won't become her by casting her out. After everything she did, she's sick, Mom. Mentally, emotionally sick. Just like you're physically sick from her poisoning. We can get better or stay broken, but we decide tonight. My phone buzzed. Marcus checking in. I texted back quickly. Still alive. Still talking. Stand by. Who's that? Mom asked. My COO, my friend, the person who helped me when family didn't. I put the phone away. He's waiting to see if I need lawyers or movers. Well, the lawyers to protect me if this goes badly, or movers to finally clean out my old room if we can't reconcile. I'm prepared for either outcome. The weight of that statement settled over them. This wasn't a child seeking parental approval anymore. This was a woman offering terms for potential reconciliation. Dad cleared his throat. The therapy thing, how would it work? I have referrals, specialists in family trauma, addiction, elder abuse recovery. We start this week or not at all. This week, but what you have a business to save, Mom has poisoning to recover from, Megan has a life to rebuild. None of that gets better by waiting. You've thought of everything, Mom observed. I've had 2 years to think, to plan, to hope and give up hope and find it again. I stood suddenly exhausted. But I'm done thinking. Now I need your answer. They looked at each other again, at the evidence scattered across my expensive coffee table, at their daughter who'd become a stranger with familiar eyes. Yes, Mom said. Carol, Dad started. Yes, Frank, to all of it. We've lost too much to pride already. She stood wobbly but determined. Where do we start? With the truth. Publicly. Tomorrow, you call everyone who was at that party. You tell them what really happened. All of it. No spin, no face saving, no partial truths. That's humiliating, Dad protested. That's accountability, and it's non-negotiable. He struggled, visibly pride-warring with necessity. Finally, shoulders sagging, he nodded. And Megan, Mom asked, where is she? I checked my phone. My security says she's at her apartment. Drunk, but safe. I'll handle her tomorrow. We should go to her. No. Tonight she faces consequences. Tomorrow we offer help. But enabling stops now. I moved toward the door. Marcus will drive you home. Security will follow to ensure you're safe. You're dismissing us. Dad's pride flared again. I'm protecting all of us from saying things we'll regret. We're all exhausted, emotional processing massive revelations. Tomorrow, with clearer heads, we begin the real work. At the door, Mom hugged me, tentative, uncertain, but genuine. I love you, she whispered. I never stopped. I know, I said, not returning the hug. Not yet. But love means nothing without trust. We rebuild both or neither. Dad offered his hand, formal and awkward. I shook it, feeling calluses that told of honest work even as his business crumbled. The money, he said quietly. I'll pay it back. All of it. I don't want repayment. I want reformation. Your pride for my trust. That's the deal. He nodded, understanding the price. They left quietly, Marcus escorting them with professional discretion. I stood at my window, watching their car disappear into Seattle's night. Behind me, evidence of the evening covered every surface. Financial records, medical reports, surveillance photos, the anatomy of a family's destruction laid bare. But also maybe the blueprint for its reconstruction. My phone rang. Megan, drunk and raging, screaming incoherently about betrayal and jealousy and stolen birthright. I let her vent, then spoke clearly. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. therapist's office. Be there or face charges. Your choice. You can't. I can. I have evidence of theft fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, and more. Show up sober or show up in handcuffs. Decide. I hung up on her protests. Tomorrow would bring its own battles. Tonight I'd won the war of truth versus lies. But victory, I was learning, could taste as bitter as defeat when the battlefield was family. The next morning arrived with the weight of unfinished business. I'd barely slept, my mind replaying every moment from the party, every revelation, every crack in the facades we'd all maintained. At 7 a.m., my phone started ringing. Megan. You destroyed everything, she slurred, clearly still drunk or drunk again. Megan, you need help. I need my life back, the life you stole. The life built on lies, the one where you poisoned our mother and stole from our parents. I never stole anything. I borrowed against my future inheritance. What inheritance? Dad's drowning in debt. Mom's medical bills are mounting. There's nothing to inherit except problems I've been solving while you created new ones. Silence. Then quieter. They were going to figure it out. About the money, Mom kept asking questions. So you drugged her. That's your solution to everything, isn't it? Can't afford something, steal it. Can't answer questions, drug the person asking. Can't maintain lies, create bigger ones. Like you're perfect, you abandoned us. I was thrown out. There's a difference. You could have come back, could have proven. I'm done justifying my choices to someone who's been selling herself at the Velvet Room to fund a fake life. The sharp intake of breath told me I'd hit home. How did you... I know everything, Megan. Every lie, every theft, every client at the escort service. Did you really think you could hide forever? I was trying to survive. No, you were trying to win, to be the favorite daughter by default. Well, congratulations. You won 2 years of being an only child. Was it worth it? She started crying, ugly, genuine sobs that made me grip my phone tighter. I don't know how to fix this, she admitted. Therapy, today, 2 p.m. I texted you the address. I can't face them. Mom and Dad aren't your problem right now. Your problem is yourself. Get help or get arrested. Choose. I hung up before she could respond. Tough love felt cruel, but enabling her had led here. No more. My assistant knocked, entering with coffee and concern. The financial team is here. Also, someone named Vincent Castellano has been calling the main office demanding to speak with you. He knows. Apparently, word travels fast in certain circles. He seems agitated. I smiled grimly. Send in the team, then get Castellano on line 1. Time to deal with the loan shark who's been feeding on my father. The financial team laid out options for restructuring Dad's debt. The numbers were staggering. What started as $200,000 had ballooned to nearly $500,000 through compounding interest and penalties. Castellano had crafted a masterpiece of predatory lending. We could buy the debt directly, my CFO suggested. Pay Castellano off, then restructure with legitimate terms. No, that's what he expects, what Hawthorne expects. I studied the contracts. Find the violations. Usury laws, disclosure requirements, something. There's always something with operators like him. That could take time. Then start now. Meanwhile, I'll handle Castellano directly. Line 1 blinked insistently. I pressed the button. Mr. Castellano, I understand you've been trying to reach me. Ms. Morrison. His voice was silk over steel. I hear you've taken an interest in your father's business arrangements. My father's been victimized by predatory lending. I take exception to that. Victimized, he came to me, begged for help when banks turned him away. With terms designed to ensure he could never repay, interest rates that violate state law, penalties that trigger automatically, you set a trap. I provided a service. Not my fault if your family can't manage money. My family manages fine when they're not being poisoned, lied to, and manipulated by people they trust. Silence. Then, you're the daughter, the one who sends the monthly payments. It wasn't a question. I'm the one who's been keeping you from collecting more aggressively, yes. Those payments stop things get uncomfortable for your father. Touch my father and things get uncomfortable for you. I have resources you can't imagine. He laughed a sound like gravel in a blender. Little girl, I've been in this business since before you were born. You think your tech money scares me? No, but federal prosecutors might. Did you know the DOJ has a task force specifically for organized crimes, infiltration of legitimate lending? Interesting how your operation would fit their parameters. Silence stretched. What do you want? He asked finally. Full documentation of the loan's origin, every communication with Bradley Hawthorne, every kickback to target my father specifically. You're fishing. I'm offering you a choice. Cooperate and walk away clean or fight and lose everything when I expose your entire operation. You're bluffing. Vincent, I built a $400 million company from nothing in 2 years. I did it by never bluffing and always delivering. Test me if you want, but I'd recommend the smart play. More silence. I could practically hear him calculating odds, weighing options. I'll need guarantees, he said finally. You'll need a lawyer. Have them call mine. We'll discuss terms. I gave him the contact information. Oh, and Vincent, any accidents befalling my family will result in consequences you really can't imagine. Threats now. Promises. I protect what's mine. I hung up adrenaline, making my hands shake slightly. One threat partially neutralized, more to go. My phone rang immediately. Mom. Alexa, something's happened. Can you come? Please. The panic in her voice had me grabbing my keys. What's wrong? It's Megan. She's here and she's not well. I broke several traffic laws getting to my parents' house. The familiar driveway felt strange after 2 years away. The house looked smaller, older, bearing the weight of deferred maintenance that money troubles bring. I found them in the kitchen. Mom hovering anxiously, Dad standing guard, and Megan at the table looking like death warmed over. She'd clearly been on a bender, makeup smeared, designer clothes wrinkled and stained. But it was what sat on the table that stopped me cold. Pills, dozens of bottles, prescription medications with Mom's name but dates that didn't make sense. She brought these, Mom said quietly, said she needed to confess everything. Megan looked up at me with hollow eyes. You wanted truth. Here's truth. She started talking, and the full scope of her deception unfolded. It wasn't just Zolpidem. She'd been doctor shopping for months, collecting prescriptions, creating a pharmaceutical cocktail designed to keep Mom compliant, but not comatose. Xanax for anxiety, Ambien for sleep, gabapentin for the nerve pain she didn't have. Nibble she doses of Haldol when she got too insistent about finding you. Megan's voice was flat, emotionless. I researched everything. Interactions, dosages, timing. I became an expert in pharmaceutical control. My God, Dad breathed. You could have killed her. I was careful, always careful, just enough to manage her moods, her questions, not enough to cause permanent damage. Not permanent! Mom's voice shook. I've lost months of memories, times I can't recall, conversations that feel like dreams. But you're alive, and you believed I was taking care of you. Megan laughed bitterly. Do you know what it's like being the second-choice daughter, always compared to perfect Alexa? So you tried to erase me, I said. I tried to matter. She slammed her hand on the table, pills rattling in their bottles. For once, I wanted to be enough, the successful one, the one they were proud of. By poisoning our mother, by giving her peace, she was making herself sick over you, crying constantly, calling your old number, driving by your apartment. I gave her calm. You gave her prison, Mom corrected. A pharmaceutical prison where questioning you meant punishment. Megan crumbled, then sobbing into her hands. I know what I did, but I couldn't stop. Every lie needed another to support it. Every month needed more pills to maintain control. I became something I don't recognize. I sat down across from her. Why bring the pills here? Why confess? Because you're right. I need help. Real help. She looked up, mascara running in black rivers. I'm scared of who I've become, of what I might do next. It was the first honest thing she'd said in years. The therapy appointment. I started, I'll go. Rehab too if needed. Prison if that's what it takes. She pushed the pills toward me. Get rid of these. All of them. I can't trust myself anymore. Mom reached out, tentatively touching Megan's hand. We'll get through this. Together. How can you forgive me? Megan whispered. I poisoned you. I haven't forgiven you. Not yet. Maybe not ever completely. Mom's voice was steady. But you're my daughter. Both of you are. We'll find a way forward. Dad had been silent, processing. Finally, the money for the drugs. Where did it come from? Megan's face flushed. Different places? Credit cards at first? Then selling things? Then... The velvet room I supplied. Dad's fist clenched. My daughter... Your daughter, who was desperate, Mom interrupted, who made terrible choices from that desperation, just like you did with Castellano. That's different. Is it you both got in over your heads? You both made deals with devils? You both hurt this family trying to save it. Mom stood gathering the pill bottles. Alexa's right. We need help. All of us. My phone buzzed. Marcus texting updates. Castellano's lawyer had called. Hawthorne was making moves trying to accelerate the loan terms. Ryan Hayes was in the lobby of my building demanding to see me. I have to go, I said. There are still fires to put out. Will you come back? Mom asked. I looked at them, my broken family trying to piece itself together. Tonight, we'll have dinner, real dinner, not party food or accusations. We'll talk about next steps. All of us, Megan asked hopefully. All of us, but you go to therapy first. Deal? She nodded, looking younger than her years. Alexa, I'm sorry for everything. I know it doesn't fix anything, but... You're right. It doesn't fix anything, but it's a start. I gathered my things. Dad, expect a call from my lawyers about the Castellano situation. Don't agree to anything without running it by them. You're taking over? His pride flickered. I'm helping. There's a difference. But yes, someone needs to lead while you're all getting treatment, and I'm the only one not actively falling apart. You seem pretty together for someone whose family just imploded, Megan observed. I had 2 years to fall apart alone. Now I'm dealing with the aftermath. I paused at the door. One more thing, the birthday party. The one I ruined. We're going to have a do-over. A real celebration when we're all healthier. Mom deserves that. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I'd like that. I left them there, 3 broken people holding on to hope and each other. My car felt like a decompression chamber, space to breathe between crises. Ryan Hayes was indeed in my building's lobby, pacing like a caged animal. Security had him contained, but not removed per my earlier instructions. He rushed toward me as I entered. Ms. Morrison, please, I need to talk to you. Mr. Hayes, you're trespassing. Security, please escort. I'll testify. The words burst from him. Against Megan Hawthorne, everyone. I'll tell the truth about everything. Just please don't press charges. I studied him, this young man who'd stolen from me to impress a woman who was stealing from herself. Another casualty of our family's dysfunction. Conference room 3. I told security, 5 minutes. Ryan followed me like a puppy, all desperate energy and fear. In the conference room, he spilled everything. Hawthorne had approached him months ago, knowing about his relationship with Megan, offered him bonuses for inside information about my company, suggested ways to move money that wouldn't be noticed immediately. He knew, Ryan insisted, about you being Megan's sister. He was using me to get to you through her. The pieces clicked. Hawthorne hadn't just targeted Dad. He'd targeted our entire family, a coordinated attack using our own weaknesses against us. You'll sign a full confession, I said. Testify if needed. Return every penny with interest. In exchange, I don't press criminal charges. Yes, anything. I'm so sorry. Save it. You're not sorry you stole. You're sorry you got caught. But you're more useful to me free than in jail, so you get one chance. Waste it, and I bury you. He nodded frantically. I had security escort him to legal to begin documentation. Another piece positioned for the confrontation with Hawthorne. My phone rang. Anthony, my investigator. Ms. Morrison, I found something about Hawthorne's son Bradley. He's been in contact with someone else in your family's circle, someone who's been feeding him information for months. Who? Sarah Martinez. The name hit like ice water. Sarah, my childhood best friend. Sarah, who'd kept me informed about my family. Sarah, who'd been at the party supporting me. You're certain? Phone records, emails, bank deposits. She's been paid $50,000 over 6 months for information about your family, about you. I sank into a chair. The betrayals kept coming, each one cutting deeper. Sarah had been my last trusted connection to my old life. Now, even that was tainted. Send me everything, I said numbly. I'll handle it. Ms. Morrison, there's more. The information she provided included details about your whereabouts, your activities, your plans for the party. Hawthorne knew you were coming. He wanted the confrontation. Why? Best guess, chaos weakens all parties. Your family tears itself apart. He swoops in to collect the pieces. Your attention divided between family drama and business threats. Classic strategy. I thought about the party, how perfectly everything had unfolded. Too perfectly. We'd all played our parts in Hawthorne's production without knowing it. Thank you, Anthony. Keep digging. I want everything on Hawthorne and Son. Every dirty deal, every vulnerability. If he wants war, he'll get one. After hanging up, I sat in the empty conference room processing this new betrayal. Sarah had been there through everything. Held me when I cried over my family's rejection. Celebrated my successes. Promised to watch over my parents. All while selling information to their enemy. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Impressive show last night, but the game's just beginning. RH. Richard Hawthorne making his move. He thought chaos made me weak. He was about to learn that chaos was where I thrived. I called Marcus. Staff meeting in 1 hour. All department heads. We're going to war. With who? Everyone who thought a broken family meant a broken CEO. Time to show them how wrong they were. I stood looking out at Seattle's skyline. Somewhere my parents were processing their failures. Megan was facing her demons. Ryan was signing his confession. Sarah was counting her blood money. And Hawthorne was planning his next move. But I was done reacting. Done being played. Done letting others write my story. The unraveling was complete. Now came the rebuilding. And this time, I was the architect. The call came at 3:47 p.m., just as I was finalizing battle plans against Hawthorne with my legal team. Mom's number on my screen made my heart skip. She never called during work hours. But it wasn't Mom's voice that greeted me. Alexa, this is Patricia. You need to come to Swedish Medical Center, now. What happened? It's Carol. She collapsed. They're saying something about drug interactions, possible overdose. Frank's losing his mind, and Megan... I was already moving, grabbing keys, motioning Marcus to follow. I'm on my way. 10 minutes. Hurry, the doctors. They're asking questions we can't answer. The drive to Swedish Medical blurred past. Marcus drove while I made calls, my mind racing through possibilities. Mom had seemed fragile but stable this morning. What had changed? The emergency room was controlled chaos. I found Dad in the waiting area, pacing like a caged animal, still in his work clothes, covered in construction dust. Megan sat hunched in a corner, arms wrapped around herself, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. What happened? I demanded. Dad's words tumbled out disjointedly. She was fine, making lunch, then she just fell, started convulsing. The paramedics said her heart rate was dangerous. They keep asking about medications, but we don't know what she's been taking. I know. I turned to the reception desk. I need to speak to Carol Morrison's doctor. I have information about her medications. The next 20 minutes were a blur of medical professionals' forms and revelations. I provided the list of drugs Megan had been giving Mom, watching the doctor's face grow increasingly grave with each addition. This combination, Dr. Patel shook his head, benzodiazepines, antipsychotics, hypnotics, the interactions alone could cause severe complications. How long has she been taking these? Months, possibly over a year without her knowledge. I glanced at Megan, who looked like she might vomit. It was administered without her consent. We need to run comprehensive tests, liver function, kidney function, neurological assessment. The good news is she's stable now, but withdrawal from this cocktail needs to be carefully managed. Do whatever's necessary. Cost isn't a factor. Are you the daughter, the one with medical power of attorney? I faltered. No, I've been estranged. That would be me, Megan said quietly, standing on shaky legs. But I defer to my sister. She should make the decisions. It was the first selfless thing she'd done in years. Dr. Patel nodded. We'll need formal paperwork, but for now I'll keep you informed, Ms. Morrison, Alexa Morrison. His eyes widened slightly. The CEO, my daughter uses your app. She'll be thrilled. He caught himself. Sorry, inappropriate. Your mother is in room 314. One visitor at a time for now. I looked at Dad and Megan. You go first, I told Dad. She'll want to see you. He hesitated, then pulled me into an unexpected hug. Thank you for being here, for knowing what to tell them. I'm glad you came back to us. The hug felt foreign after 2 years, but I didn't pull away. Go see Mom. As he headed down the hall, Megan and I were left alone in the waiting room's harsh fluorescent light. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I did this, she whispered. I poisoned our mother, and now she's getting help. Real help. I sat beside her, maintaining distance, but present. The doctors know what they're dealing with because you brought those pills this morning. That honesty might have saved her life. Or I might have killed her with my lies. But you didn't. That's what matters now. How can you be so calm? I destroyed everything and you're acting like someone needs to be functional while everyone else falls apart. I rubbed my temples. Trust me, I'm not calm. I'm furious, terrified, and exhausted. But one of us needs to handle logistics while the others handle emotions. I went to therapy, she said suddenly. Today, like you said, Dr. Hoffman. And I'm a narcissist with dependency issues stemming from chronic insecurity and parental comparison. Apparently, I created an elaborate false reality to avoid confronting my own inadequacies. She laughed bitterly. $70 to learn I'm exactly as screwed up as you said. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. What I meant was you need help. We all do. I checked my phone, 17 missed calls from board members who'd heard about my family drama. The business world never stopped even for medical emergencies. Did Dr. Hoffman recommend continued treatment 3 times a week, plus group therapy, plus possible inpatient treatment for the, she gestured vaguely, the other stuff? The escort work, she meant. Another secret eating at her. Will you do it? Do I have a choice? There's always a choice. You can get help or continue spiraling, but only one path keeps you in this family. Dad returned looking haggard. She's awake, asking for you, Alexa. We traded places and I walked the sterile hallways to room 314. Mom looked tiny in the hospital bed, connected to monitors that beeped with reassuring regularity. Her eyes found mine immediately. My prodigal daughter, she said, voice weak but warm. Mom, I sat beside her, taking her hand carefully. How are you feeling? Like I've been underwater for months and just broke the surface. She squeezed my fingers. The doctors told me about the drugs, about what Megan did. I'm sorry. No, no apologies, not from you. Her eyes filled with tears. I should have known. A mother should know when something's wrong with her children, both of them. You were chemically prevented from knowing. That's not your fault. Isn't it I chose to believe comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths? Chose to accept Megan's version of reality because it was easier than questioning it. Mom, let me finish. These past months, maybe year it's fuzzy, but there were moments. Clarity breaking through. I'd think about you, wonder where you really were. Then Megan would appear with tea and the thoughts would fade. She looked at our joined hands. Part of me knew, some deep part recognized the pattern, but I let it happen because the alternative meant confronting how badly we'd failed you. We all made choices, I said softly. The important thing is making better ones now. Your father told me about the money, about your success. CEO. She smiled weakly. My daughter runs a company worth hundreds of millions and I missed it all. You didn't miss it. You were prevented from seeing it. Same result. She shifted, wincing. The doctor says withdrawal will be difficult. Months of recovery, possibly permanent effects. I'm scared, Alexa. I'll be here. We'll get through it together. Will we? Can you forgive us, really? I considered lying, offering easy comfort, but we'd had enough lies. I don't know. Forgiveness isn't a switch I can flip. But I'm here and I'm trying. That has to count for something. It counts for everything. She studied my face like she was memorizing it. You look successful, confident. Nothing like the girl who used to bring me coffee in bed every Sunday. That girl learned to make her own coffee, but she never stopped missing Sunday mornings with her mom. We sat quietly, the beeping monitors marking time. Finally, Mom spoke again. Megan needs help, more than therapy. She's been selling herself. I know, we'll handle it, discreetly but thoroughly. And your father's business? Also handled. I'm negotiating with Castellano and blocking Hawthorne's takeover. You're saving us all while we're falling apart. Someone has to be the adult. Might as well be the disowned daughter. The bitterness slipped out before I could stop it. Mom flinched. We hurt you so badly. Yes, you did. Can we fix it? We can try, but Mom fixing this means real change, not just apologies and promises. Dad has to confront his pride. Megan has to face her crimes. You have to get clean and stay clean, and you have to decide if we're worth it. I nodded. That's the hardest part. My life works without you. I've built something beautiful from the ashes of our relationship, letting you back in risks everything I've created. Then why are you here? Because I'm an idiot who loves her family despite everything. I squeezed her hand. And because maybe, just maybe, we can build something better than what we had before. A knock interrupted us. Dr. Patel entered with a team of specialists. Ms. Morrison, we need to discuss your mother's treatment plan. The complexity of her medication regimen requires careful management. I said, I'll get Dad and Megan. We should all hear this. 20 minutes later, the full scope became clear. Mom's liver showed signs of damage. Her cognitive function was impaired but potentially recoverable. The withdrawal process would require inpatient management for at least 2 weeks, followed by months of outpatient care. The good news, Dr. Patel explained, is that we caught this before permanent damage. With proper treatment, Mrs. Morrison should make a substantial recovery, but it won't be easy. Whatever she needs, Dad said firmly, whatever it costs. Insurance should cover, the doctor began. I'll cover what they won't, I interrupted. Please proceed with the best treatment available, not just what insurance approves. After the medical team left, we stood awkwardly around Mom's bed, a family reunited by crisis, uncertain how to proceed. I should call the office, I said. Let them know I'll be unavailable. Your big, important company? Megan said, not quite hiding her resentment. The company that's going to save Dad's business and pay for Mom's treatment. Yes, that one. Girls, Mom warned weakly. Sorry, we said in unison, then shared a surprised look at the familiar childhood response. My phone buzzed. Sarah texting, heard about your mom. OMG, so sorry. Here if you need anything. The betrayal stung fresh. My childhood friend selling information while offering comfort. I deleted the message without responding. What's wrong? Mom asked, reading my expression. Nothing important, just business. But Dad caught my arm as I headed out to make calls. Whatever it is, we'll face it together, as a family. We're barely a family, Dad. We're strangers with shared DNA and painful history. Then we become a family again, however long it takes. His weathered hand covered mine. I know I have no right to ask, but please, don't shut us out again. I won't, but I won't pretend everything's fixed either. This is day one of a very long journey. As long as we're walking it together. I looked back at the hospital room, Mom dozing fitfully, Megan holding her hand, the machinery of modern medicine working to undo months of chemical damage. Together, I agreed, but on my terms, with boundaries, with truth. Whatever you need. I left them there, taking refuge in the hospital's family lounge to handle the outside world still spinning despite our personal drama. Marcus had held down the fort, but decisions needed making, battles needed fighting. How is she? He asked when I called. Alive, damaged but fixable. It's going to be a long recovery. And you? Processing, compartmentalizing, doing what needs doing. I paused. Cancel my appointments for the week. I need to be here. Of course. Anything else? Yes, accelerate the Hawthorne investigation. He orchestrated this, timing Mom's collapse, the party revelation, all of it. He's playing chess while we're playing checkers. Time to flip the board. With pleasure. Oh, and Alexa, I'm proud of you for showing up, for handling this with grace. I don't feel graceful. I feel like I'm juggling flaming chainsaws while walking a tightrope. And yet you haven't dropped one. That's the definition of grace under pressure. After we hung up, I sat in the empty lounge, letting the day's weight settle. My mother was hospitalized. My sister was broken. My father was humbled. My family was shattered but trying to reform. And somewhere in Seattle, Richard Hawthorne was probably toasting his perceived victory. He had no idea what he'd actually awakened. The girl he'd helped destroy was gone. In her place stood a woman with resources, determination, and nothing left to lose. The medical emergency had forced our family's crisis into the open. Now came the harder part, healing, both Mom's body and our fractured relationships. But first I had a corporate raid to plan and a betrayal to confront. Sarah Martinez thought she could sell my family's pain for profit. Richard Hawthorne thought chaos would weaken my position. They were about to learn why underestimating Alexa Morrison was a fatal mistake. My phone rang the hospital billing department, ready to discuss payment plans. Just send me the total, I said. I'll wire payment immediately. But insurance? Will reimburse me eventually. My mother needs care now, not bureaucratic delays. Money couldn't fix our family, but it could remove obstacles to healing. And after 2 years of anonymously supporting them, I was done hiding my resources. The war for my family's future had begun. Medical emergencies, corporate takeovers, personal betrayals, all pieces on a board I was finally ready to command. Let them all come. I'd survived abandonment and built an empire. I could handle whatever came next. The Fairmont Hotel's presidential suite had been transformed into a war room. 3 days after Mom's hospitalization, I'd assembled my own version of a family council, but this one included lawyers, financial advisors, and investigators alongside what remained of the Morrison clan. Dad sat rigid at the conference table, pride battling with necessity as he reviewed the forensic accounting of his company's destruction. Megan, fresh from her 3rd therapy session, clutched a coffee with shaking hands. Even Aunt Patricia had come, providing moral support and occasional reality checks. Let's start with the immediate threats. I began standing at the head of the table like I stood at countless board meetings. Anthony, what have we got on Hawthorne? My investigator pulled up files on the wall-mounted screen. Richard Hawthorne and his son Bradley have systematically targeted Morrison Construction for 24 months. Shell companies, predatory loans through Castellano strategic property acquisitions to strangle Frank's contracts. Total estimated damage, $4.7 million. Dad's face went gray. 4.7. That's what you would have lost if the takeover succeeded, I clarified. The company's actual value versus what Hawthorne planned to pay. But why? Dad's voice cracked. The lawsuit was settled. We moved on. Men like Hawthorne don't move on, Anthony replied. They get even. Your successful defense against his buyout attempt cost him face in the business community. This was revenge served extremely cold. What about Sarah? I asked, though the name still stung. Sarah Martinez received $50,000 in payments over 6 months. She provided detailed information about your family's movements, finances, and vulnerabilities. She also... Anthony hesitated. She informed them about your planned attendance at the birthday party. That explains the timing, Marcus observed. Maximum chaos, minimum preparation time for defense. I turned to the screen showing Bradley Hawthorne's communications. Can we prove conspiracy RICO violations? Anything criminal? Working on it, my legal team lead responded. The loan, sharking a loan, gives us leverage. Add in the corporate espionage, the coordinated nature of the attacks, we're building a case. Build faster. I want options by end of week. I moved to the financial displays. Now, Dad's company, what are we looking at? My CFO took over. Morrison Construction has solid fundamentals buried under predatory debt. Remove Castellanos' loan. Restructure legitimate obligations, inject working capital. It's salvageable. More than salvageable. There's growth potential with proper management. I don't need charity, Dad muttered. No, you need a buyer, I countered. I'm proposing to purchase Morrison Construction outright. Fair market value assumption of legitimate debts, retention of all employees, including you as operational manager. You want to buy my company? I want to save your company while ensuring it can't be targeted again. Under the FinTech Solutions umbrella, Morrison Construction gains protection, resources, and stability. And I become your employee. You become a valued subsidiary manager with profit sharing and the pride of knowing your workers keep their jobs. I softened my tone. Dad, your pride or your people? Choose. He struggled visibly, decades of independence warring with reality. What about my legacy, building something to pass down? Your legacy is 30 employees who depend on Morrison Construction for their families. Preserve that or lose everything to pride. Your call. Aunt Patricia spoke up. Frank, for God's sake, take the lifeline. Your daughter's offering salvation, not charity. With conditions, he said. Yes, full financial transparency, modern management practices, and family therapy, as discussed. I met his gaze. Non-negotiable. He nodded slowly, defeat and relief mingling. Draw up the papers. Already done. I slid contracts across the table. Pending due diligence, but the framework's there. Megan watched this exchange with something like awe. You really did plan everything. I planned for contingencies. Hawthorne forced my hand with his acceleration. I turned to her. Speaking of which, your situation. She straightened, bracing for impact. The Velvet Room has agreed to destroy all records of your employment there. No questions asked. How? I bought the Velvet Room yesterday. Stunned silence greeted this announcement. You bought an escort service, Patricia managed. I bought a business that was exploiting vulnerable women, including my sister. It'll be shut down after ensuring all employees have exit counseling and job placement assistance. That must have cost less than watching my sister destroy herself for money cost our family. I focused on Megan. Your debts total $387,000. I'll pay them, but you sign a contract. Therapy, compliance, financial counseling, and you work for me. Doing what? Learning legitimate business. Marketing department entry level. You'll earn your advancement like everyone else. You want me working at your company after everything? I want you somewhere I can monitor your recovery while giving you honest work. It's that or face fraud charges. Choose. I choose family, she said quietly, if you'll have me. We'll see. Trust is earned. I pulled up medical reports. Mom's responding well to treatment. She can leave the hospital in 10 days, but needs continued care. I've arranged private nursing at the house. Carol will hate that, Dad said. She's proud about independence. She'll hate relapsing more. This isn't negotiable either. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Impressive moves. But the game isn't over. RH? I showed it to Anthony. Hawthorne's getting nervous. Good. What's our timeline for moving against him? Castellano agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. Says Hawthorne promised him 50% of Morrison Construction's value post-takeover. With Bradley's electronic trail and Sarah's communications, we have conspiracy to commit fraud, RICO predicates, and potentially attempted murder. Murder! Patricia gasped. Megan's drugging of Carol. If we can prove Hawthorne knew and encouraged it to destabilize the family? Anthony shrugged. Aggressive prosecutors have won with less. He knew, Megan said suddenly. Bradley knew. He suggested I increase Mom's doses when she started asking about the money. Said it would keep things calm until the takeover finished. You have proof. Texts, emails. I saved everything. She looked sick. I thought he was being helpful, protecting our family secret. He was weaponizing your crime. Anthony, get those communications. Priority 1. The room buzzed with activity as teams mobilized. In the center, my family sat like an island of personal drama in an ocean of corporate warfare. This is surreal, Dad said. Yesterday, I was a failing contractor. Today, I'm watching my daughter plan a corporate raid. Yesterday, you were a failing contractor because someone engineered your failure. Today, we're engineering their destruction. I checked the time. I need to handle something. Marcus, take over. Dad, review those contracts. Megan, get those communications to Anthony. Where are you going? Patricia asked. To confront an old friend about her 30 pieces of silver. Sarah lived in the same Queen Anne apartment she'd had since college. I'd helped her move in, celebrated her promotions there, cried on her couch after the family disownment. Now I stood outside her door, betrayal burning cold in my chest. She answered on the second knock, face lighting up before registering my expression. Alexa, I heard about your mom, how... $50,000, I interrupted. That's what our friendship cost. $50,000 to sell my family's secrets to our enemies. Her face cycled through emotions, confusion, fear, guilt. I don't know what... Stop. I pushed past her into the familiar space. I have the bank records, the emails, every communication with Bradley Hawthorne, so let's skip the denial phase. She sank onto her couch. How did you find out? I hired competent investigators, something you might have considered before betraying 20 years of friendship. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? My family destroyed you, paid everyone lives happily except the Morrisons. They said they just wanted information, business intelligence. Nothing personal. My mother's medical information wasn't personal. My whereabouts. My plans to attend her party. I stood over her, fury barely controlled. You told them I was coming, gave them time to accelerate their plans. Mom's in the hospital because of timing you provided. Tears streamed down her face. I needed the money. Student loans, credit cards, Mom's cancer treatments. Don't you dare use your mother's cancer to justify selling mine to wolves. Easy for you to judge you with your millions, your success. Some of us struggle, Alexa. Some of us make desperate choices. I would have helped you. All you had to do was ask. Would you really, or would you have lectured me about financial responsibility while writing a check like Lady Bountiful? The accusation stung because it held truth. I might have been condescending, might have attached strings, but I wouldn't have betrayed her. We'll never know, will we, because you chose Hawthorne's money over our friendship. I'm sorry. God, Alexa, I'm so sorry. I didn't think. No, you didn't. But Hawthorne did. He thought buying you would give him inside access to destroy my family, and he was right. What happens now? Are you going to sue me? Press charges? I considered it. Part of me wanted her to suffer, to face consequences, but looking at her, this woman I'd loved like a sister, I just felt tired. Now you cooperate, fully. You testify against the Hawthorns. You provide every communication, every instruction, every payment record. You help me bury them. And then we're done. 20 years of friendship ended. You keep the blood money and the guilt. I keep the lesson about trust. Alexa, please. You made your choice, Sarah. Now live with it. I headed for the door, pausing for one last look. For what it's worth, I would have given you 10 times that amount if you'd just asked. Hell, I'd have given it to you for free. That's what friends do. I left her sobbing on the couch where we'd once planned our futures together. Another casualty of this war I hadn't started, but was determined to finish. Back at the hotel, progress continued. Castellanos' lawyer had arrived with immunity agreements and boxes of evidence. The forensic accountants had uncovered more shell companies, more victims. Hawthorne's empire of revenge was vast but fragile. We can take him down, Anthony announced. Criminal charges, civil suits, regulatory violations. He'll be lucky to avoid prison. I don't want him in prison, I said, surprising everyone. I want him destroyed. Business reputation, social standing, financial portfolio, everything he values more than freedom. I want him to live knowing he lost everything trying to hurt my family. That's cold, Marcus observed. That's justice. He tried to destroy us through legal manipulation. We'll return the favor. I turned to Dad. The contracts. My lawyers approve. Pending due diligence, Morrison Construction becomes a fintech solution subsidiary next week. Good. Megan? I sent everything to Anthony. Bradley was thorough in his instructions. There's enough to bury them both. Excellent. I surveyed the room. My war council, my family, my future being reshaped through crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, in 6 months, Hawthorne tried to destroy the Morrison family. In 6 days, we're going to destroy him. Questions? Just one, Aunt Patricia said. What about forgiveness moving forward, this revenge path? This isn't revenge. It's justice and protection. I met each family member's eyes. Hawthorne targeted us because he thought we were weak. Others might think the same. This sends a message attack. The Morrisons face annihilation. That's not who we were, Dad said softly. Not how your mother and I raised you. No, you raised me to turn the other cheek, to trust blindly, to put family first. I gestured around the room. Look where that led. Mom poisoned you, nearly bankrupt Megan, selling herself me disowned. Time for new rules. Alexa's right, Megan said unexpectedly. The old way failed. We failed, maybe. Maybe we need her way now. Strange finding support from the sister who'd drugged our mother, but crisis created odd alliances. My phone rang. The hospital. Ms. Morrison, your mother's asking for you, all of you. She says it's important. We'll be right there. The war room disbanded lawyers and accountants continuing their work while family headed for Swedish medical. Mom might be recovering, but she remained our center, our reason for fighting and rebuilding. In the car, Dad spoke quietly. I'm proud of you. Wrong word, maybe. Amazed, grateful, I don't know. But watching you today, seeing what you've become, I'm glad you're my daughter. Even though I'm nothing like the daughter you wanted, because you're exactly the daughter we needed, even if we were too blind to see it. Coming from the man who'd disowned me, the words hit hard. I blinked away unexpected tears. Save the emotions, I said. We have a war to win first. Then we can figure out if we're really family again. But as we entered the hospital, together, united in purpose if not yet healed, I felt something I hadn't in 2 years. Hope. Not for the family we'd been, but for the family we might become. If we survived the reckoning ahead. 6 months later, I stood in the renovated offices of Morrison Construction, watching Dad explain the new employee profit-sharing program to his crew. The skepticism that had greeted the acquisition had transformed into enthusiasm as paychecks increased and benefits expanded. The men who'd stood by Frank Morrison through near bankruptcy now worked for his daughter's empire, and they were thriving. Still feels strange, Dad admitted, joining me by the window. Taking orders from my own daughter. You don't take orders. You run operations while I handle strategic oversight. I smiled at his grumbling. Besides, your productivity is up 30%. Turns out financial security improves performance. Turns out my daughter's a better businesswoman than I ever was. Different skills for different times. You built with your hands. I build with algorithms and acquisitions. Speaking of which, how's the other acquisition working out? Through the glass partition, we could see Megan at her desk meticulously working through marketing analytics reports. 6 months of therapy and honest work had transformed her. The brittle glamour was gone, replaced by genuine confidence, earned through actual achievement. She's surprising me, I admitted. Her last campaign increased user engagement by 12%. Turns out when she's not maintaining elaborate lies, she's actually creative. She asked about a promotion yesterday. I know, I told her 1 year minimum, same as any entry-level employee. That's harsh. That's fair. She needs to prove consistency, not just capability. Dad nodded, accepting the wisdom he wouldn't have recognized a year ago. Family therapy had worn down his prideful edges, revealing a man capable of growth even in his 60s. My phone buzzed, Marcus with an update that made me smile. What? Dad asked, reading my expression. Hawthorne's bankruptcy filing just went public. Complete liquidation of assets to pay legal settlements and fines. Good riddance. Though I still think prison would have been justice. Prison would have been revenge. This is better. He'll spend the rest of his life known as the man who lost everything trying to destroy a family that refused to break. We walked through the construction offices, Dad pointing out improvements, new computers, ergonomic furniture, safety equipment that exceeded requirements, all funded by fintech solutions' deep pockets, but implemented with respect for the company's culture. Your mother wants family dinner Sunday, he said as we reached the parking lot. Real dinner, not restaurant food. I'll be there, assuming Megan doesn't poison the pot roast. That's not funny. It's a little funny. Dark humor's how we cope, remember, therapy, homework. He shook his head, but smiled. The ability to joke about our trauma had been hard-won through months of counseling tears and brutal honesty. But we learned to laugh together again, even about the darkest moments. I drove to Fintech's headquarters, transitioning from construction sites to corporate suites with practiced ease. The executive floor hummed with purposeful energy, my assistant greeting me with coffee and concerns. Sarah Martinez called again, she reported, 4th time this week. Same answer as before, no contact. She sounded desperate. She sounded desperate when she sold us out too. Anything else? Your mother's discharge papers. She's officially completed outpatient treatment. I smiled, the first genuinely warm moment of the day. Mom's recovery had been grueling physical withdrawal, psychological evaluation, learning to think clearly after months of chemical fog, but she'd fought through it with determination I'd forgotten she possessed. The afternoon brought board meetings and strategic planning, the normal rhythm of corporate leadership. But at 4 o'clock, I cleared my schedule for the week's most important appointment. Dr. Patricia Kusama's family therapy office had become as familiar as my own boardroom. The neutral beige walls had witnessed screaming matches, sobbing confessions, and tentative reconciliations. Today, all four Morrisons assembled for our weekly session, the configuration that had seemed impossible 6 months ago. How was everyone's week? Dr. Kusama began her standard opening that had sparked everything from mundane updates to explosive revelations. Good, Mom said, looking healthier than she had in years. I planted a garden, tomatoes, herbs, flowers. Getting my hands dirty felt grounding. Gardening's excellent for recovery, the therapist noted. Creating life, nurturing growth. Very symbolic. Everything's symbolic in here, Megan muttered, but without her old venom. My week was challenging. My supervisor assigned me to the Henderson account. Big responsibility. How do you feel about that? Terrified, excited, mostly terrified. She glanced at me. I don't want to disappoint anyone. You won't, I said. You've earned the trust. Just apply what you've learned. See, that's progress, Dr. Kusama observed. 6 months ago, Alexa wouldn't have expressed confidence in Megan's abilities, and Megan wouldn't have admitted vulnerability. 6 months ago, we were different people, Dad said. Broken people. You're still broken, the therapist corrected gently, but you're healing. Together. That's the difference. We spent the hour navigating current challenges, Dad's struggle with reduced authority, Mom's anxiety about independence, Megan's imposter syndrome, my tendency to control rather than trust. The issues that would have exploded into family warfare now became topics for discussion and strategy. I want to address something, Mom said near the session's end. Thanksgiving's coming, our first since the night that shattered us. The elephant in the room dressed in turkey and accusation. What about it? I asked carefully. I want to do it right this time, all of us, together. New traditions for our new family. I don't know if I'm ready, I admitted. That dining room, that table. So we'll use a different room, different table. Hell, different house if needed. Mom reached for my hand. But I need this. We need this to overwrite that horrible memory with something better. What do you think, Alexa? Dr. Kusama prompted. I thought about the last Thanksgiving I'd attended at my parents' house. The accusations, the disownment, the jewelry box that changed everything. Then I thought about the past 6 months, the pain of rebuilding, but also the joy of rediscovering each other. Okay, I said, but I'm bringing security. Alexa, Mom protested. Joking, mostly, but yes, let's try. New traditions, new memories. I'll cook, Megan offered. Real food, not, drug tea. Still not funny, Dad said, but he was fighting a smile. After therapy, we went to dinner, a tradition that had developed organically. Nothing fancy, just a family sharing a meal without subterfuge or chemical enhancement. Conversation flowed easier each week, the sharp edges of our history softening without disappearing. I got accepted, Megan announced over dessert. The master's program at UW, Marketing and Digital Strategy. That's wonderful, Mom beamed. When do you start? January, part-time so I can keep working. She looked at me, assuming my boss approves the schedule adjustment. Your boss approves. Your sister's proud of you. The distinction mattered. At work, I was her boss. Here, I was family. Learning to separate those roles had taken months. What about you, Dad? I asked. How's the community center project? His face lit up. Morrison Construction's first major contract under fintech ownership, building a youth center in South Seattle, had become his passion project. Ahead of schedule under budget. The design team you assigned is brilliant. Those kids are going to have a place that matters. Because you're building it like it matters, I said. That's why I wanted Morrison Construction on it. Heart, not just hammer. Getting soft in your old age, he teased. Getting strategic. Company with heart builds customer loyalty. It's just good business that happens to be good ethics. There's our CEO, Megan laughed. Everything's a strategic advantage. Not everything, I protested. Family dinner isn't strategic. Isn't it strengthening interpersonal bonds, ensuring stakeholder alignment? Okay, now you're just showing off the MBA terminology. We laughed together, real unforced laughter that would have seemed impossible during those first brutal therapy sessions. We'd screamed at each other, accused and blamed and hurt, but we'd stayed. We'd fought for this, for the ability to sit together without weapons drawn. I love you all, Mom said suddenly, wine making her sentimental, even when we were broken, especially now that we're healing. We love you too, I said, meaning it fully for the first time in years. Later, driving home alone, I reflected on the journey. 6 months ago, I'd crashed my mother's birthday party as an enemy combatant. Now I was planning Thanksgiving dinner with the family that had disowned me. The old Alexa would have called it weakness, letting them back in after such betrayal. But the new Alexa, tempered by success and softened by therapy, understood strength meant choosing connection despite the risk. My phone displayed missed calls from Sarah Martinez. 20 years of friendship reduced to ignored voicemails. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt, some betrayals cut too deep. But the family bridge burned and broken was slowly spanning the gap again. I pulled into my building's garage, nodding to security who knew me by name. The penthouse waited still my sanctuary, but no longer my prison. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, company decisions, family dynamics, the ongoing work of healing. But tonight I felt something I hadn't in years complete, not perfect, not undamaged, but whole in the way that only comes from facing the broken pieces and choosing to build anyway. My father had disowned me. My mother had chosen blindness. My sister had poisoned and lied. I had hidden and controlled. We'd all failed in spectacular ways. But we'd also chosen to try again, to be better, to forge a new beginning from the ashes of our destruction. The elevator carried me up to my life, successful, complicated, no longer solitary. In my pocket, Mom's text about Thanksgiving menu planning waited for response. Megan's marketing report needed review. Dad's construction timeline required approval. Family, business, future, all intertwined now in ways that terrified and thrilled me. I'd built an empire while exiled. Now came the harder task, building a family while exposed. No anonymity, no distance, no safety net except trust, slowly earned and carefully given. But as I entered my apartment and looked out at Seattle's lights, I knew I wouldn't have it any other way. The money had kept them afloat. The truth had set us free, but choosing to love again despite everything. That was the real fortune. And this time, I wouldn't hide it in shadow. 1 year later, the Morrison family gathered in my parents' home for Thanksgiving. Not the old dining room that space held too many ghosts, but in the newly renovated family room that looked out onto Mom's thriving garden. The table was different, too round instead of rectangular, chosen specifically so no one sat at the head. We were equals here, all of us scarred but healing. Before we eat, Mom said, standing with a confidence that had returned gradually through her recovery, I want to share something. She retrieved a box from the sideboard worn at the edges and tied with twine. Inside, yellowed envelopes lay stacked, each addressed in her careful handwriting. Letters, she explained. I wrote them during the time we were apart, when Megan, she paused, choosing words carefully, when I was unwell. Sometimes I had clear moments and I'd write to you, Alexa. I never sent them. I thought you were gone forever, but I kept writing. She handed me the stack, heavy with 2 years of unsent words. You don't have to read them now, or ever if it's too much. But I wanted you to know that even in the fog, even believing lies part of me never stopped reaching for you. I held the letters, feeling their weight, both physical and emotional. Thank you. I'll read them when I'm ready. When we're ready, Dad corrected. Some of those. I wrote some too, during the nights when pride let me admit I might have been wrong. Megan shifted uncomfortably. I found them. The letters. When I was managing Mom's medications, I should have destroyed them, but I couldn't. Even at my worst, I couldn't destroy her words to you. That's because even at our worst, we're still family, I said. Flawed, complicated, sometimes toxic family, but family. Well, speaking of family, Megan cleared her throat. I have news. I've been accepted to the doctoral program at Stanford. Full scholarship. The table erupted in congratulations. Stanford's marketing psychology program was elite, the scholarship even more so. My sister, who'd once lied about basic employment, had earned admission on merit alone. I'm so proud of you, I said, meaning it. When do you start? January, which means, she hesitated, I'll need to resign from fintech, conflict of interest and all. Actually, no. We've been discussing a West Coast expansion. Having a Stanford doctoral candidate as our regional marketing consultant would be strategic, if you're interested. You'd do that. Create a position for me. I'd create an opportunity for a talented professional who happens to be my sister. There's a difference. Mom wiped tears the good kind. My girls, CEOs and doctors. Well, almost doctor. Don't jinx it, Megan laughed. I haven't even started yet. You'll be brilliant, Dad said firmly. You've got the Morrison stubborn streak. Once we commit, we don't quit. Even when we should, I added, remember the bathroom renovation project. That was different. The contractor said it couldn't be done because you wanted a skylight in a first-floor bathroom with a second floor above it. We dissolved into laughter, the kind that came from shared history without sharp edges. Even our mistakes had become safe territory wounds, healed enough to touch without bleeding. As we ate, conversation flowed naturally. Dad's community center had opened to rave reviews with 3 more contracts following. Mom's garden had expanded into a neighborhood beautification project. Megan's master's thesis on authentic branding after personal crisis was being published in industry journals. And fintech had gone from success to success, our value crossing the billion-dollar threshold. Sarah called again. Mom mentioned carefully, she wanted me to tell you she's in therapy now, working through why she did what she did. The table went quiet. Sarah remained the unhealed wound, the friend who'd sold us for silver. Good for her, I said neutrally. I hope she finds peace. But not forgiveness, Mom pressed gently. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, only acknowledged as ruins. That's sad, Megan said. 20 years of friendship. Ended in betrayal that nearly destroyed us. I can wish her well without wanting her back in my life. That's growth too, knowing which chances to give and which to withhold. Dr. Kusama would be proud of the boundary setting. A year of therapy had taught us all the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. You could achieve one without the other. Speaking of growth, Dad said, changing subjects with unusual tact, the Richmond project needs approval. Big expansion, but Morrison construction is ready. Monday, I said. No business at family dinner, remember your rule? Since when do I make rules you follow? Since you learned to make rules worth following. He grinned, the expression taking years off his weathered face. The power dynamic between us had shifted and reshifted, finding balance in mutual respect rather than paternal authority. As dinner wound down, I found myself studying each face around the table. Mom clear-eyed and present, the chemicals finally purged from her system. Dad humbled but not broken, pride tempered with wisdom. Megan authentic for perhaps the first time in her adult life, success built on truth rather than lies. And me, no longer the ghost, funding their lives from shadow. No longer the abandoned daughter seeking validation. Just Alexa, complicated and complete part of something larger than corporate success. I need to tell you all something, I said as we cleared plates. I've been seeing someone. The activity stopped. 3 faces turned to me with identical expressions of surprise. Someone, Mom's voice pitched high with excitement. Who and why didn't you tell us? Because I needed to be sure it was real first, that I could trust my judgment about people again. I thought of Daniel, the criminal defense attorney who'd entered my life 6 months ago, who knew my whole story and stayed anyway. His name's Daniel Chen. He'll be here for Christmas if you'll have him. Of course we'll have him. Mom practically vibrated with joy. Oh, Alexa, this is wonderful. Tell us everything. Monday. I laughed. Let's get through one holiday at a time. But I did tell them the basics, how we'd met during the Hawthorne prosecution, his patience with my trust issues, the slow building of something real. They listened with the hunger of family who'd missed too much, eager to be included in my present, since they'd been exiled from my past. As evening settled, we moved to the living room full and comfortable. Megan had brought a photo album she'd found while packing pictures from before everything fell apart. We looked through them together, no longer avoiding the painful reminders, but acknowledging them as part of our story. "Oh, look how young we were," Mom murmured at a photo from my college graduation, so confident in who we were to each other. "We know better now," I said. "We know we're capable of hurting each other terribly, but we also know we're capable of choosing differently." The second chance family," Megan said. "That should be our motto." "The stubborn as hell family who refuse to stay broken," Dad countered. "I like that better." "Both work," I decided. "We're all of it. The broken and the healing, the failures and the learning, the mistakes and the choices to do better." My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel checking in. The smile it brought must have shown because Mom pounced. "Is that him? What did he say? Are you happy?" Yes, yes, and yes. I put the phone away. But tonight's about us, about marking 1 year since everything changed. "Since you came back," Mom corrected. "Since you gave us another chance we didn't deserve." "Since we all decided to stop hiding from truth," I said. I hid in my success. Megan hid in her lies. Dad hid in his pride. You hid in chemical fog. We were all guilty of choosing comfort over connection. "Not anymore," Megan said firmly. "No more hiding." "No more hiding," we agreed in unison. As the evening wound down and goodbyes were exchanged, I felt the solidness of what we'd rebuilt. Not the same family that was gone forever, shattered by betrayal and abandonment, but something new forged in therapy and truth, stronger for having been tested. "Drive safe," Mom said, hugging me tight. "Text when you're home." "Always do." "Love you," Dad added the words, coming easier now after months of practice. "Love you too, all of you." I drove home through Seattle streets, wet with November rain, thinking about circles and cycles, endings and beginnings. 2 years ago, I'd fled these same streets in tears, disowned and alone. Now I returned from family dinner, imperfect but genuine, complicated but committed. The letters Mom had given me sat on my passenger seat. Later, maybe tomorrow, I'd read them. Face those words written in confusion and longing, see my mother's heart laid bare during our separation. But not tonight. Tonight was for gratitude, for marking how far we'd traveled. My phone rang through the car speakers. Daniel, unable to wait. "How was dinner?" he asked. "Good. Really good. They're excited to meet you at Christmas." "Still nervous about that." "Don't be. If they could forgive me for publicly destroying them at Mom's birthday party, they can handle meeting my boyfriend." "Fair point. You home?" "Almost. Want to come over? I could use some normal after all that family intensity." "On my way." I smiled at the easy affection, the uncomplicated care. Learning to trust again outside family had been its own journey, but Daniel had proven patient with my defenses and gentle with my scars. The penthouse welcomed me with its familiar elegance, but it no longer felt like a fortress. Just a home, one of several I'd found in the office, where my team challenged and supported me in my parents' renovated family room in Daniel's arms when the day's battles were done. I poured wine and stood at the window's city lights, reflecting possibilities. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Megan's transition to Stanford, Dad's expansion projects, Mom's continued recovery, my own balance between CEO and daughter success and connection. But tonight I was simply grateful for the family that had found its way back to each other, for the truths that had freed us from pretty lies, for the chance to love and be loved not despite our failures, but through them. The doorbell rang Daniel with takeout and tales from his day. I welcomed him in this man who'd met me at my strongest, and still wanted to know my weaknesses, who understood that my family's redemption was ongoing, not complete. "You look happy," he observed, setting food on the counter. "I am. It's still surprising sometimes." "Good surprising." "The best kind." We ate and talked, the easy rhythm of partnership still new enough to appreciate. He'd meet my family, soon enter the complex dynamic we'd fought to achieve. But I wasn't worried. We'd survived honesty about poison and theft, embezzlement, and abandonment. We could handle introducing someone who loved me whole. Later, curled together on the couch, I thought about full circles, how sometimes you had to break completely to rebuild stronger, how the path away could lead back to where you started, but arriving as someone new. "What are you thinking?" Daniel asked. "About circles and choices, and how sometimes the worst thing that happens becomes the catalyst for the best." "Or your family?" "Everything. If they hadn't disowned me, I might never have built fintech. If Megan hadn't lied, then we might never have faced truth. If Mom hadn't been poisoned, we might never have learned to protect each other." "That's a generous interpretation." "Maybe, or maybe it's just practical. We can't change what happened. We can only choose what it means." He pulled me closer, understanding without judgment. This too was new, being seen fully and still being held. Outside, Seattle continued its restless motion. But inside, in this moment, between what was and what might be, I found peace. Not the peace of ignorance or the peace of isolation, but the hard-won peace of acceptance. My family would never be simple. Trust would always require verification. Love would come with legal documentation and therapy appointments. We were the Morrisons, complicated, stubborn, broken, and healing. But we were choosing each other. Again and again, day by day, holiday by holiday, building something new from the wreckage of what was. And that more than any IPO or acquisition was the real success story. The full circle complete, but the journey just beginning. 5 years had passed since that explosive birthday party, and the Morrison family had gathered once again at the Fairmont Hotel, this time in the ballroom I now owned. But this wasn't just any celebration. This was Mom's 65th birthday, and we were doing it right. "I still can't believe you bought the hotel just to attend my party," Mom said, radiant in the silver dress we'd chosen together. No confusion clouded her eyes now. No chemical fog dampened her smile. "Best investment I ever made," I replied, adjusting the microphone at the podium, though buying Morrison Construction came close. The ballroom was packed not just with family this time, but with employees from both companies, community members from Dad's construction projects, and friends we'd made in recovery. Even Dr. Kusama had come beaming like a proud parent at her most successful case study. 5 minutes. Marcus warned, clipboard in hand. He'd become family too, these years of crisis and growth binding us beyond professional ties. I looked out at the assembled crowd, seeing our journey reflected in every face. Dad stood with his construction crew, the men who'd weathered near bankruptcy, now thriving under new leadership. Megan Dr. Morrison, now with her Stanford PhD, commanded attention from a cluster of marketing professionals drawn to her published work on authentic brand recovery. Her research into family businesses, rebuilding after scandal, had become industry standard. And Daniel, my husband of 2 years, caught my eye from across the room, offering the steady support that had become my foundation. He'd entered our family at its messiest and somehow found beauty in the chaos. "Ready," he mouthed. I nodded, tapping the microphone. The room quieted. 5 years ago, I began, many of us were in this same hotel, but we were different people, broken people. My family had shattered under the weight of lies, pride, and betrayal. I stood in a doorway upstairs, uninvited and unwelcome, watching a birthday celebration I'd been erased from. Mom reached for Dad's hand. They knew this story had lived it. but hearing it publicly still brought emotion. That night, everything exploded. Secrets, lies, years of pain, all of it came pouring out in front of 62 guests. It should have been our ending. Rock bottom, the final break that couldn't be healed. I paused, finding Megan's eyes. She nodded encouragement. But sometimes rock bottom is just foundation. Sometimes you have to destroy everything false to build something true. That night, we lost our illusions about each other. My father had to face that his pride nearly cost him everything. My mother discovered she'd been chemically controlled by someone she trusted. My sister confronted the person she'd become in pursuit of approval. And I had to decide if revenge was more important than redemption. The room was silent, even the servers pausing to listen. We chose the harder path, not the dramatic path of permanent estrangement or the false path of pretending nothing happened. We chose the messy, painful daily work of rebuilding. Therapy, truth, accountability, learning to love each other not despite our failures, but through them. It wasn't pretty, Dad called out, earning nervous laughter. That first year nearly killed us all over again. But we survived, I continued. More than survived. Morrison Construction is now building affordable housing across the state. Megan's research helps families navigate crisis with integrity. Mom's recovery story has inspired countless others to seek help and fintech solutions. We've grown from financial software to family support systems funding programs that help families heal from betrayal and rebuild trust. I gestured to a table near the front. Castellano is here tonight. Yes, the same loan shark who nearly destroyed my father. He's now running a legitimate microfinance operation helping small businesses with fair terms. Redemption is possible for everyone willing to do the work. Vincent Castellano raised his glass in acknowledgement, his presence a testament to how far we'd all come. Even the Hawthorns found their way forward, I added. Richard's son Bradley runs a nonprofit now teaching business ethics to at-risk youth. Amazing what losing everything can teach about what really matters. But the greatest lesson, Mom said standing to join me at the podium, is that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choice. Daily difficult choice to show up for each other even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. We failed each other spectacularly, Megan added, coming to Mom's other side. I poisoned, lied, and stole, but my family chose to see beyond my worst actions to the person I could become. That grace saved my life. Dad joined us, our family united at the podium. Pride nearly cost me everything, but my daughter's tough love taught this old builder that sometimes you have to demolish before you can reconstruct, even yourself. So what's the lesson? I asked the room. What did we learn from public humiliation, private betrayal, and painful reconciliation? I looked at each face, employees who'd become friends, strangers who'd become supporters, family who'd become whole. We learned that silent power speaks loudest when it steps into the light, that anonymously saving people enables their dysfunction, that love without boundaries is just enabling with a prettier name. But most importantly, I pulled Mom, Dad, and Megan closer. We learned that the worst moment of your life might be the gift you don't know you need. Our family's destruction became our salvation. The lies that divided us became the truth that united us. The pain that should have ended us became the foundation for something better. The room erupted in applause, but I raised a hand for silence. One more thing needed saying. Sarah Martinez died last year, I said quietly. Cancer. She passed without our reconciliation, and that's a regret I'll carry forever. She betrayed us? Yes. Sold our secrets to our enemies. But she was also suffering desperate, making terrible choices from that desperation. I couldn't forgive her in time, and that's on me. The room had gone silent again. So here's my challenge to everyone here. Look at your life, your family, your grudges and grievances. Ask yourself, is this the hill you want to die on? Is this pride worth losing people over? Is this anger worth carrying forever? Some betrayals can't be forgiven, someone called out. True, I acknowledged. Some wounds are too deep. Some people are too toxic. Boundaries matter, but sometimes, like with my family, what looks like betrayal is really just broken people breaking each other. And broken can be fixed if everyone's willing to do the work. The work never ends, Dr. Kusama added from her table. Healing is a practice, not a destination. Which brings me to tonight's announcement, I said, gesturing to Marcus. The lights dimmed, and a presentation began on the screens around the room. The Morrison Family Foundation, I announced, funded by FinTech Solutions and Morrison Construction, dedicated to helping families navigate crisis addiction and reconciliation, free therapy, financial counseling, and practical support for families choosing the hard path of healing. Thank you for joining the Morrison family on their journey from betrayal to reconciliation. Have you ever faced a family crisis that seemed impossible to overcome? How did you find your way back to each other, or did you share your thoughts in the comments below? And if this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to hear more stories about families who chose the hard path of healing. And remember to share this with someone who might need to hear that redemption is possible even from the deepest wounds. Until next time, may your truth set you free and your love be stronger than your pain.